Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Up the board, push hard in front, deflected home, and Edmonton wins the game. 3-2. It's Connor McDavid in double overtime.
Here comes a 1-2. Mullins running again, drilled to left field. He hit it pretty well. Did Mateo get it? He did. A 3-run shot to left center field. Jorge Mateo is hit number 3, and that gives his team a 3-run lead.
1-1.
Vlad hits it in the air, deep center field. Perez at the track. It's out of here. Get the home run jacket ready. Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
And the right-hander ready and throws. And it's low in the A's have won it on a 4-pitch walk. 10-9 A's with a 5-run 11th.
Jaylen Brown throws back to Hauser. Up fakes. Celtics to play the clock a little bit here. Up by 16. Jalen steps to his right now. Takes a 3. No good. Offensive rebound. Drew Holiday kick out. Open. Tatum. 3. Good night. And after a high drama, heart-stopping steal of a win for the H's in Game 1, not nearly the drama tonight in Game 2. The Celtics hold serve, and they are halfway home in the Eastern Conference Finals. They beat the Pacers 126-110.
Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. What's up, DB?
What up? How are things? How we doing?
You know, we're trying to keep our head above water.
Literally
and figuratively. It's had another weather incident last night.
Yeah, that's funny.
If it could chill, that'd be cool.
Gosh, I was telling Jacob on social media last night. I don't remember in my lifetime going through a stretch like this.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's been aggressive.
Like it is always something, and he and I were probably two of the few that like don't have jobs that require us to work third shift that were just naturally up anyway.
Yeah.
So then he turns around and texts. He's like, "Yeah, the heck with social media. I'm gonna text you at 2:20 in the morning and let you know that stay patient with TweetDeck. It can work." I was like, "Oh, thanks, man. I'm gonna give that a try."
Yeah, I apparently just don't have the aptitude there.
No. You were doing it right.
Was I?
Yeah, he said you have to wait it out.
Oh, okay.
Just keep refreshing. He said it finally gave in.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so guess what? Mine did too.
There's a little secret sauce there I didn't know about.
Speaking of which.
Yeah, what are we mixing there this morning, bud?
Oh, just a little concoction.
Are you mixing that with chopsticks?
Yeah, I couldn't find any sliverware.
So going chopsticks here this morning.
No, these are
Or are they straws?
You see that?
Oh, that's horrifying.
Chunky Lambrusco.
I
usually dry scoop it anyway, but
what's happening right now?
Just trying to get my day right.
Surprise, surprise.
Zip it over there, Lord Farquhar.
That that doesn't look great. I'm gonna be honest with you, it doesn't look great.
Yeah, it tastes even worse. So were you up?
Yeah, so I was asleep, and then my family called me because they're like, hey, there's a tornado warning. Like, we should make sure everybody's awake and safe.
By family, you mean your mom?
So my mom was on the text, but it was my sister who actually called me.
Oh, good to know she cares.
Because there's a little text thread going on, and somebody's like,
we got one of those.
Somebody's like, hey, somebody should make sure Ravi and Natasha are up. So yeah, I got a phone call at 2 a.m. or whatever time it was, and you're right there. You're having a moment.
Wowzer.
Yeah,
I'm good.
That seemed bitter.
You seem very hurt right now. You're gonna be all right?
Nope, I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
That thing wet.
So I got.
Yeah, not wet enough because it's clumpy.
Yeah, you didn't get a good water to mix ratio there at all.
Yeah, whatever.
Yes.
Judgy McJudger.
No, I mean, hey, it's your morning breakfast, whatever it is. Like, you do you. I wouldn't do it personally. It looks terrible. But
Oh man, I had to go get Zoe from downstairs this morning.
Yeah. She just fall asleep downstairs.
Put her in the old basement.
Yeah, we went down there for I don't know, hour, whatever it was, until everything passed. But it was fun. Good, nice, fun middle of the night endeavor.
So I haven't really. Is the city okay outside of I saw some trees. I saw a billboard.
Yeah, I
I
don't
saw.
know about down south because that's where like Papillion, Bellevue, and then
Well,
into Iowa is where they were afraid that there was an actual tornado.
Yeah, I live right on the.
You're like on the border there.
Yeah, because it was supposed to come through the Shadow Lake area,
Yeah,
370, and I'm between Q and Harrison.
yeah. So you're not far from there at all.
No.
So yeah,
Usually it's my old Ida military Fort
it
Street
goes north a
corridor
lot.
days, but it was headed that way.
Well,
like,
there was two different rotations. One went low, one went high.
Yeah.
And I'm luckily in the middle. So I mean, it was like rainy and thundering and stuff, but I don't think there was real tornado danger, at least in my neck of the woods.
Did you see how Channel 7, well, they had both their Sean and Bill,
Yeah, they
just
were
navigating like split screen. It was like, oh, you guys are pretty good together.
Yeah, they have the telestrator game down.
It's
down pat.
It was like old Madden and Summerall.
Boom, whap. You could put that guy on Sports Center. He'd be good to go.
Sean, he's pretty chill too. Like just his disposition.
He's very like dry.
Yeah.
Like, just straight to the point.
Yep. He's kind of low key funny. He's usually there on Sundays when I record.
Mm-hmm.
Bill's getting set up too, so I see Sean quite a bit.
Yeah,
he has pretty good shoe game. He's a big Asics guy.
Is he?
Yeah, he likes comfort.
Yeah, I like. I mean, a comfortable shoe is nice, but it's gotta look good.
Asics, they're sweet.
Yeah,
yeah.
I've never tried Asics as a brand.
It's a good running shoe.
I've heard that. I've been looking into Hoka's recently.
Yeah. So I got my mom some a couple years ago, and she doesn't like wear them like she should.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish she would. She said she was afraid to mess them up for a while.
Well,
I don't think she thought they were very cool, but a lot of people wear them.
Oh yeah,
even young people.
Yeah.
You know who I see work them a lot?
Who?
Officials.
Yeah. Yeah. They're supposed to be super comfortable, good running shoes, whatever. I just seem to be like for walking around, right? Because especially if we're at events or whatever, like you go to Husker football or you go down to the Chuck or whatever or CHI, you're walking around all over the place.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what I need them for.
They look like they were going to be cheap. I remember I got a little bit of sticker shock.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're cheap.
No. I said, shoot, I should go back and get myself a pair of Air Maxes or something for this.
Yeah. We got Natasha a pair a while back. So I'm used to paying like Jordan prices. So they were cheaper than I thought.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking like premium shoe prices. And they were like, I'm sure they were expensive for like normal non-Jordan line shoes. So I was actually like, oh, we're cool. That's fine.
Yeah. Not one of the collector editions.
Yeah. It's like, okay, if you're not paying like, Jordan 11 prices, you're like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Shane, it's right in your wheelhouse because I think you got the last two pair of your shoes at the same time for what, about $30?
Yeah, I think so too. But still,
combined. Remember when you got the orange ones and the blue ones or whatever color that was?
Oh, the two orange pairs and the one green pair.
Yeah, what those cost you total?
It was like $20 or something like that.
For 3 pairs of shoes?
Yeah, it was solid.
That's incredible.
I still wear the same orange ones. I haven't even gotten to the second orange pair yet. I mean, they are the most comfortable shoes ever.
I can't even find a pair of slides for $20.
Oh, I got Micah some for his birthday.
Some slides?
X, yeah.
What kind you get?
I don't know.
Okay.
He sent me the link. Found them for a decent price.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not for. They were like $80.
That's pricey for slides.
I think they were Yeezys.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on, Micah. Do better.
Hey, man.
I'm
just happy he cut his hair off.
I'm talking directly to him. I'm not even talking to you. I'm just looking at you. I'm talking to Micah. Do better, bud.
He's probably on his way to school.
Come on. Listen. I know you probably listen to other stuff on the way to school, but do better.
I don't know, man. He likes us.
That's weird.
Yeah, he likes sports. Now, I don't know about who may be driving him this morning, but
he would have had he would have been a good fly on the wall in the conversation I was having last night. So I met up with my buddy, get a little dinner while we're watching games.
Yeah.
And
so how does that go? Do you just say, hey, do you want to go grab something to eat and watch basketball?
Yeah, so it's a guy I've known for 20 some years at this point.
I don't know if I would say that to anybody.
Yeah, well, I like to see him every once in a while, because we don't have a way of organically running into each other really, and so we used to run into.
Is he homebound?
No, but like we don't run in the same circles really anymore.
Oh,
So I don't have we used to go to church together, and so we don't go to church together anymore. So
yeah.
um,
Does he still go to the same church?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't go to church anymore.
Well, it's just weird how you're asking me you're answering me with like cliffhangers, man. Like, tell the goddamn story.
Well, so I've known him since I was a kid, since I was like 14. He was my youth pastor guy.
Yeah.
And then so we've known each other growing up, and then we've been really tight for the whole time. And then he went to church with him till I stopped going to church, basically. And then so we don't run into each other organically at church anymore. So I like to see him.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like,
you're like, hi, Mike, Jeff, Biff,
Ben,
Tim, Bill,
Ben.
Yeah, I knew it was gonna be one of those. Ben.
Wait, so he's white? Is that what you're saying?
No, Ben's Ben McLemore.
Kansas, great.
Yeah.
Kansas pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good.
I remember the aura surrounding
was a
him. It was very hard for him to reach. But okay, so you went to go get something to eat.
Yeah, and so
they have TVs at Chinese restaurants, or you didn't go get Chinese?
Why would we go get Chinese?
I don't know. It just sounded like something you may want to go do.
No,
you brought up chopsticks, so I thought it was on the brain.
That's because you were using the straws. They looked like chopsticks. I thought you were and you were like eating the goop out of there with chopsticks.
You called it goop.
What else am I supposed to call it?
By the way, I just about fainted. I just looked up the hookah shoes.
Yeah,
hookah.
What
hookahs you smoke those?
Well, you might as well for $145. Can you smoke these shoes?
Mine were more than that.
I mean, I'm looking at like $225, $99 for the lowest, and it's like $65 below price.
Yeah, I think Natasha's ran like 145 somewhere in there, and I was pleasantly surprised.
She's on her feet a ton, right?
Yeah, with the chef thing, like she's on her feet all the time. So, but yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with those. But anyway,
surprise.
So he knows the job. So we always go to like a sports bar or something.
Okay,
and
because he's like, I figure Ravi would want to watch sports.
Well, he just kind of knows I gotta be.
Does he like sports?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's always cool when churchgoers like sports.
I mean, I think it's cool when everybody likes sports. I don't care if they go to church or not.
Yeah. So
it's nice.
You can repent and rejoice
in
baskets.
You got to pray for victory, right? That's kind of.
Yeah, as if that was a thing. But
yeah, I did when I was a kid.
Oh, God, please let me get this dub.
Listen, when I was a kid, I'm full disclosure.
Are you serious?
I swear to you. I would go to church.
Yeah.
And I remember specifically when Nebraska was playing Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And so 96 Fiesta Bowl after the 95 season. You remember, you were there. You're familiar. I'm not sure if you recall.
And
here we go. Sleep deprivation setting in on a Friday.
I don't know if you recall that period in Nebraska history. I don't know if you were paying attention.
And you threw some Hail Marys out there for the game?
I'm not Catholic, so I didn't do Hail Marys. Wow. But I did I would pray that Nebraska would beat Florida.
Yeah, it's probably like most kids.
Yeah, I was a kid. Like I'm 8 or 9 at that point.
Yeah.
And so
please, sweet baby Jesus, go get this win.
Yeah, like 6 pound, 8 ounce baby Jesus, going all Ricky Bobby at the dinner table on him.
Shut up, old man.
I'm gonna come at you like a spider monkey.
Still one of the greatest, dumbest scenes of all time.
We're all hopped up on Mountain Dew.
Thank you, dear baby Jesus.
That's Shane, basically. He's like one of those kids when they grew up. He's still hopped up on Mountain Dew. But no, and then one of the like leaders, like one of my Sunday school teacher or whoever it was, because they like ask you what you pray about, which I was, well, it's a little personal. We don't need to be doing that. But
a leader.
So I told him, I was like, I'll pray that Nebraska wins the Fiesta Bowl. And then I got scolded.
What did you guys go watch last night?
Basketball, mostly basketball, and then there was a lot of college baseball on, and the hockey was kind of
in the periphery,
but it was on.
Were you gonna say the P word too, or did you just say it because I did?
I was gonna say peripheral.
Oh, okay.
Neighborhood.
Close enough.
Yeah. So we're watching, and then that game started getting away. So I wasn't with the basketball game, not hockey game. I started getting a little disinterested in the basketball game as the Tyrese Halliburton thing happened, and
he's frustrating.
Yeah.
He's really frustrating.
Yeah.
So what was your place of choice? Were they showing Big Ten baseball Or were you watching?
I was watching SEC baseball.
SEC?
Yeah, I was watching Louisiana, LSU. I don't want to say Louisiana State. LSU and
South Carolina. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Which turned out to be very exciting.
Yeah, it was a good game.
11-10, come from behind.
Yeah, it was
10-7. A lot of ebb and flow. 5-1, 5-5, 6-5, 6-6,
Yeah.
7-6, 10-7, 11-10 final. Out the door.
I think I started paying the most attention at 7-6.
7-6 LSU.
Yeah, when I was like, oh, something's happening.
Yeah, that was top of the 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's the Rain Man kicking in.
Yeah, that
Feel
was
free to fact check. That's exactly how it went.
No, I know.
4, 6,
I
8, 12.
am a little freaked out, just to be honest. There's I don't really recognize what just happened there.
It's just how my mind works.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's advantageous.
Like,
except when I want to forget things and I just can't. That's where I had to learn to move on.
That's a good skill to have also.
Yeah. Sometimes pretty artificial,
Like,
manufactured.
I have good recall. Yours freaks me out.
Yeah. So were you up in arms at all during the highway run?
I was up in arms.
Hey, so I saw a funny TikTok where a comedian saw Scott Stapp in the audience, and I thought of you immediately.
My guy.
He goes, man, I remember I was driving on the highway one day, and I just started crying. With arms wide open. He went into like this whole shtick. But anyway,
that's my guy.
Were you up in arms during the replay of the Iowa game?
During the replay of the
did you see like runner interference, and everybody was like super? Iowa was losing their collective minds. I just wondered, have you ever seen anybody ejected in college baseball that wasn't Torrey Vitello? No, I'm kidding. Like with players that are carrying on in the dugout?
No, I don't think so.
I thought yesterday may have been close. Because
they might have.
There weren't a lot of people yet, so you could hear just about everything, and it was utter chaos. And you're like, "Oh shoot, this must be elimination game."
Yeah,
because
it was the tension was.
Oh yeah, it was
high.
a straight tension convention.
Yeah,
and it's weird too because college baseball, like seeds aren't holding.
No.
The SEC is a mess.
Well, didn't we talk to Kendall not that long ago?
We talked to Kendall, we talked to KP, and we talked about LSU finally
starting
getting
to play right. But also
Kellyanne is the only one that's really happy right now because she's a diehard LSU fan.
Selfish.
But we talked about how there was really no front runner.
There was like that group of 6.
Yeah, and then after that there was, what do you say, 20 or 30?
He said there's 20 to 25 teams that could win this thing. This is the most wide open he's ever seen it.
So that kind of is bearing out here in the conference tournaments, right?
Well, I just heard.
Don't get me started. I'll go.
Nah, don't.
I'll go full send on the creek.
No.
It's a Friday morning. I'm feeling good.
Hey, and by the way, man, you have a little bit of and full disclosure, I did appreciate your level of self-awareness. Can I tell the story about the Scotty Scheffler thing?
Yeah.
All right. So you sent me the message.
Yeah.
You're like, hey man, like my bad.
Last Friday.
I thought I could do
I could talk around my biases is what I said.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, like it's family. It's cool. Like we'll be fine.
But I felt bad because I didn't feel like I did a very good job.
No, it was fine though, because you're going to turn out to be closer to right than not. So and I didn't even care about that part. Yeah. I just was like, oh man, like it's a fairly explosive show. Somebody was just asking me about this yesterday, and I was like, oh, we do that all the time. But it's like when you have conviction like that sometimes, and it doesn't matter what it is. Maybe I was talking to, was it Tony? Yeah, because Tony's on the ram it down my throat train too. And no, I mean that like we were talking, and I have in my Northeast, so I may have a new buddy.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would go to like the Northeast corner of the state.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have to go to Stanton in August, but that's not like far corner.
No, it's not.
No, but I like this guy.
Yeah.
I think you'd like this guy too. And he sent me a deal. I couldn't read it, and I couldn't read it because it was on Facebook, so somebody's gonna have to show it to me. But it's Josh Fisher is who it is. So his Twitter handle is JD Fish 6,
okay.
but he is in that business. So we were just going back and forth, and we're looking at video cams and not video cams, and officers being reprimanded. And I still have some questions.
Sure.
You know, it's like, because I never bought the whole jumped on the vehicle, which is still a thing. Like, that's not what he did.
Yeah. Looks like he just ran over and pounded on the window.
Yeah. So how fast did that vehicle look like it was moving? Because I asked you, was that all the video?
I think that was all of the interaction.
That's all anybody show. Okay.
I don't think that's all there is.
Because I'm still missing a few things.
But I think what was said yesterday, I don't remember if it was the mayor or the police chief.
The mayor was is shocked, chagrined, and dismayed.
Not great.
Yep, not happy.
But
turn your cam on.
I have some issues with that as well.
Yeah, I know. So this is where I have to be prepared to let you go, because this is where your biases kick in.
Yeah.
But this is valid.
Yeah. So my concern last Friday when this was all happening live was that
you are looking live.
Well, now we're looking back, but at the time we were looking live.
Like, look back at it.
But my concern was that the police report and the representation of the report from the police side of things was not accurate, and that we were seeing an issue of a police officer kind of losing his cool in a situation where there was really no need for it. And my concern was primarily because the Louisville Police Department has a pretty public
and you
incident.
did also say, I can't help it. I have
Breonna Taylor.
I have Breonna Taylor in my mind.
And I said that off air because I didn't want to say it on air because I was being a coward. But
that's okay.
I felt bad, and I feel worse now because it seems like I might have been right.
No, but here's the thing. This is exactly how this is who I am as a person. Those things are okay, but when you're in the solutions business, see, I don't want anybody. That would be like me. If I paint law enforcement with one stroke because of some things that have happened,
sure,
that's no different than police officers looking at me a certain way with a broad stroke because some things have happened.
Sure.
Now, let's be honest, right? Like, when people that look like me have committed a fair amount of crimes, a disproportionate amount of crimes. Okay. There may be a multitude of reasons for why that's happened.
Sure. But that's the end result of a lot of symptoms.
Right.
Yeah.
No, okay. I'm not going to get into the social ills. What
it's
because I'm not going to solve it today during the show.
But statistically, that's a thing that is.
Yeah. My point is, I don't want people doing that to me.
Sure. Fair.
So I'm not going to do that to them. That's how I frame almost every discussion. Even if it's one-on-one and it's in a relationship or whatever, like I'm going to do my very best and ask anybody that's ever been in a heated discussion with me. I'm going to do my best to pull myself out of the equation.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like, okay, what are we talking about? You know what I mean? Now, it doesn't always work, but that's how you have to have those kinds of conversations.
And what I wish I had done there was bring up the reason I was struggling with that conversation.
And it would have shut me. It would have been disarming. I would have been like, because that's what I wanted you to say.
Yeah. What I was having a hard time was both acknowledging my biases and not using them to paint with that broad brush that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Like that's the struggle I was having real time. And I don't feel like I got it very good. But now we're seeing, and again, not that it was, Ravi was right or whatever, but now we're seeing that Louisville PD may not be on the right side of this thing.
Yeah.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities.
Long.
That's because they're like double timing over the both cameras.
TK is making fun of me already.
TK, be nice to DB.
I'm very, very stingy with it, but I gave him my number, so he has like direct access. TK is a nut job.
TK, come on, do better, bud.
He says sleep deprivation is kicking in. Shane, am I that bad? I don't think so.
I don't think so. It didn't seem unusual to me.
No. Although what's in that cup, that may kick in shortly.
I've never.
Plus, I took the goop.
Is that the Spark?
Yeah, it's a common. There's some collagen in here too.
Okay. Oh, that's why it's gooping up like that.
No, it's actually the Spark.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it is the worst.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, it has a very distinct smell too. I usually dry scoop it in the coach's office, and they're always like, "Oh, you getting hyped."
This smells delicious.
We had our staff meeting last night, and there are a couple of rules that are specifically for me as a staff. It's very heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's really hurting my feelings. Do you want me to read it to you?
Yeah,
I'm glad you asked.
I actually would like to
Number
know.
6. No coach's group work or individual work is more important than the whistle or the horn. When it's time to switch, we switch.
That's calling you out?
That is me.
I mean, that seems like a reasonable call out.
So the funny thing is, as I was asking his wife what the Wi-Fi password is, because I like to take notes on my computer. So I was upstairs, like for probably 80 seconds.
Yeah.
And when I came back downstairs to the staff meeting, everybody was looking at me. I go, what? Like, hey, did you read number 6? Oh, we're on number 6. What's number 6 say? I'm notorious.
Yeah.
Like
BIG?
No, like my groups are sometimes run a little. I like to talk before we start the next thing because I'm a big. I want to set the objective. So we're going to do the drills and the objectives. Now that part he does like because he didn't. Then earlier he's like, hey, I kind of want your groups. You know, Coach Binning's really good at this. Coach Wims is really good at this. Like, I want to be able to watch your individuals and know what the objective is.
So you're trying to communicate that on the front end.
So so I get that part.
So
right?
you're not doing a drill just to do a drill.
But he's a huge transition guy.
Yeah.
Like, get your ass moving. When he's like, get moving.
Yeah.
And it's a bad feeling to have people like waiting for your group to come over.
Oh yeah.
But I'm like, dang, it's only like it's not even once a week, but it is more than anybody else.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, ooh, I gotta eat that.
You gotta make sure you know what's going on.
I gotta shut it down like
a little earlier.
Yeah, probably 30 seconds.
Yeah. That's not terrible.
Nah.
Little adjustments.
And I don't want to end on a iffy rep either.
Yeah, sometimes you're gonna have to just Sometimes
you're
gonna have to just do it.
That's gonna be the hardest part.
Yeah.
I want to end on something good.
Well, I mean, I don't know how I feel about that.
It's a total DB thing.
I know. So like when I was coaching, playing, whatever, like I was basketball, right? So I always want to end on a make, right? That was a psychological thing for me. But I almost wonder if there's a value of being like, hey, you don't get another chance. Like you have to do it right every time.
I would entertain that, but of course, like I'm not going to agree with you right now.
No, it's fine.
Because I want a good rep.
I get it.
I don't want some pillow fight and last collision, or you don't use your hands, or you don't get your eyes to 2 or whatever. Like, do it right, and we'll be good. 1, 2, 3, break.
Yeah, but there's consequences for not doing it right.
Apparently there are.
You don't get to do it again.
Right? And then he worded it like he just made me feel bad. I don't think I'm more important. But that's okay.
When we switch, we switch.
Listen, switch. Speaking of switch, we gonna switch nights?
Yeah, I think we already did. Well, Nebraska football already did. I don't know if you are.
Fudge. I was talking to Coach Huffman yesterday. I'm praying.
I told you. I was like, man, I think it's Illinois.
Yeah, I thought and I almost thought we were out of the
woods.
Out of the woods. Because I'm like, there's no way they do a home game.
Yeah. They were trying not to, I think. I think they're trying to avoid it at all costs. But
and I mean, it's funny because people where high school sports doesn't involve them, and I encourage you to go read Stu Pospisil's article that he had this morning about degrees of difficulty and kind of the unintended consequences. But some people, it's just funny. Like you just know, like who's in it for high school kids, who isn't, and that's not a shot. It's just you can just tell whose livelihood is around coaching and whose isn't, right? Fans, some other fans. So it's like, just talking with athletic directors, it's not as simple as move a game to a Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
To Thursday to Saturday.
The Saturday thing is laughable almost.
Yeah.
Right, because your pool of officials shrinks tremendously because a lot of those guys and gals work colleges.
Yeah. So your options are just not there.
Yeah. And the other thing is, and what people have to understand, and maybe they don't if they don't really care, is you can make a good chunk of the nut.
Of like your gate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a good crowd.
Yeah.
Get my nuts.
Exactly, little girl.
Yeah.
So you want optimum capacity for a Westside Bellevue West.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like,
and that would be home game for you guys this year, right?
It is a home game
because you guys were down there last year.
Yes, we were.
Yeah. So that's tough.
Yeah, it's poopy. I mean, Coach Huffman's got guys going. I've got to work.
Yeah.
And I may have a guy going. So it's like, you mentioned Gatula.
Mm-hmm.
There's just, it's hard.
Yeah.
And I just kind of chuckle at how dismissive some people are. But then again, it is human nature. If it doesn't affect me,
that's not a problem.
I don't care. It's not a problem. But logistically, it's almost laughable. I remember what Coach Petito would tell me. They would open with one of the rival Millard schools sometimes.
A lot we would.
And he's like, Damon, you got to understand.
Mm-hmm.
If we get 5,500 people there, that's our football money for the season.
The whole year.
And sometimes athletic directors will use that money for other sports.
Yeah. Same way Nebraska football has in the past.
right? Like the principle is still the same.
Yeah.
So it's like.
And there are further reaching implications than I realize on this when this happens, right?
There are? Did you open your mind? Stimulate your mind, Ravi.
Well, like
or Craig or whatever your name is.
Not Craig.
Not accusing you of being a chronic smoker either. Hey, that look high?
When you start doing something like that, maybe a little bit. So I'm guilty of this to a certain extent. I know that high school football is important to people and that it's a big deal and it affects a good amount of people. I do wonder sometimes what the overlap is from the 92,000 or whatever at Memorial versus the people that regularly attend high school football from a public standpoint, right? I'm not talking about the impact on schools or coaches or whatever.
Yeah.
From a public standpoint, it seems like there's a lot of people that freak out about this that it actually doesn't affect. Like, I think there is a group of people that kind of.
Are you accusing people of fake outrage?
Yes. Because they don't like the fact that a college football game is being played. Like, it's
weird. You're wagging your finger.
It's the no. Very, very Dikembe Mutombo on people.
Wait, R.I.P. Right?
I think he's gone. Yeah. Maybe.
No, is that Bowl?
Yeah. It's Manute
I'm
Bowl.
sorry. I'm not trying to.
Manute Bowl's gone.
Never mind.
Dikembe, I think,
I'm going to maneuver on out of that one.
I think you were.
I like turtles.
You were thinking of the other African.
Relax.
Like you're winning. Winning it like you're winning.
You were thinking of that other black guy.
Oh, shoot.
No, but I think from a general public, there's less overlap than some of the outrage you hear. Now, if you want to bring it to me from a school budget standpoint and from a coaching standpoint and a player standpoint, that's totally valid. I don't think there's as much overlap on people attending high school games and people attending the Nebraska game as some of the freakouts on the internet would lead you to believe.
I mean, okay. I'm not. I'm not going to argue that.
That's not to say it's not a problem for different reasons, right? But it's, again, like there's.
How much revenue would you guess shifts from a Saturday day or night game to a Friday night?
For Nebraska?
And businesses in general?
Ooh, I have no idea. I don't even have a ballpark on that.
Yeah, so that's probably number one. And I'm sure, listen, you're talking about the son of a high school coach. Not ideal.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he doesn't want to do it. But when that check cashes, it's like, hey, do you want us to get paid and have have revenue or not? Right?
Well, it kind of goes to, this thing. It's like, what are you willing to sacrifice in order for the thing you want more, right? You want to be a part of the college football big boys and like a seat at the table and modern college football. Well, part of that is stuff like this.
Yeah.
Where you're playing on a Friday night or Thursday night, or you're doing what the TV cameras want you to do so that you can get that big fat check and keep paying players and doing whatever you need to do. Speaking of paying players, should probably bring that up next.
Yeah.
Here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Wrapping up hour number one here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. And we were talking before the break about some of the things you have to do in order to get those big boy paychecks in college football these days, such as move a home game to Friday night occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons that's going to become more and more important is a recent court case that's being settled. That's basically paved the way for schools to directly pay players. Like that's there's a lot in there in House versus NCAA, but that's one of the main takeaways is that moving forward, probably fall of 2025, we're going to be looking at a world in which there is some sort of salary cap directly provided by the schools, and there will be 20 to 22, 25, somewhere in there, $1 million directly paid out to student athletes from the universities themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so those paychecks from places like the Big Ten on their television deals and things like that just became that much more important. And there's a lot of ramifications here to what we're talking about because that money's still going to have to be Title IX compliant, from what I'm understanding. That money is and the Title IX compliance thing concerns me a little bit because what I think that's going to cause schools to do long term is dramatically reduce the offerings they give in sports. Because if you've got $20 to $22 million to spend,
mm-hmm.
most of that's going to go to revenue sports, or you're going to want most of it to go to revenue sports. You're going to have to even that out on the Title IX side with non-revenue sports, or depends on where you're at. Volleyball or women's basketball can be revenue sports, but they're not a ton of places. And then what do you do with everything else, right? I'm afraid we're going to get to the point where it's going to be the revenue sports, enough women's sports to balance that out Title IX, and they will get rid of everything else.
It could happen. It depends on some schools are going to have to seriously entertain that.
Yeah,
right? Because it depends on like your fiscal savvy in terms of. I mean, Nebraska can't lose track and field. You wouldn't think, right?
Nebraska, you would hope not.
Nebraska would not want to lose wrestling, right?
You would hope not.
So
a bunch of schools are going to lose baseball. A bunch.
Yeah, it's interesting because I look at it even locally. Like if you're Creighton at a non-football school in a power conference,
I think it's easier for Creighton than almost anybody.
You're talking about relative to like Connecticut?
Relative to a place like Connecticut that has football? Like Connecticut's life is dramatically more complicated than Nebraska or than Creighton's. Because Connecticut doesn't have big football money, but if they're going to be competitive at football at all, there's still a price tag there.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If you're, I don't know if I agree with that, because Creighton doesn't have a non-revenue generating monster to deal with. Connecticut football can't be making money.
Right.
So
they're probably they should end up cutting football.
But just think about that's the thing. You're saying it's easier for Creighton because they don't have that problem?
Well, it is because they don't have to make the decision to cut football. Like UConn's going to be faced with the decision to either try and be competitive in football, which is likely going to be cost prohibitive considering their current situation.
So what happens if
unless they
whatever conference revenue you're getting from your sport that you're sharing because you have a football team, is that more than you would get if you don't have a football team at all? I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, my thought is if you're UConn and you're trying to be competitive in this new world of college football, it's going to cost more than they will get from their current football situation. Like they're not currently earning enough on football or from their TV deals or whatever
to be worrying about getting the check at the end, however small that is, because you're spending more during the season.
So, like, if they want to fall, like Villanova has football too, but they're FCS, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they want to come down and be like an FCS program where it's not as cost prohibitive, considering the money they're bringing in, that would make sense to me. But UConn's going to have to make some really difficult decisions considering football. And then it becomes the other thing, like football makes everything.
For that matter, I mean, baseball as well.
Yes, right? That's why I said a lot of baseball programs are going to get cut because they're generally non-revenue generators at most places. And they can be kind of expensive to operate, and they're doubly expensive because then you have to come up with 11.7 worth of scholarships on the women's side, and whatever you're paying those guys from your $20 million, you have to pay that on the women. So like, it's not just the cost of operating baseball; it's then double the cost of operating something equal on the women's side. So baseball is going to get cut a lot of places because it doesn't make money in very many places outside of the Southeast.
That would be a crazy sport, especially given the fact of how networks have really gone all in promoting the sport for schools to have to do one of the quote unquote major sports.
So the other thing that they could do is if those TV networks still want that inventory,
piece out some of the money,
is to pay them.
Yeah.
Right. Make it a revenue generator.
That's the thing.
But one of those two things is going to happen. Either it's not going to make money and they're going to have to get rid of it in order to enable all these other things they have to do. Or
so how much longer is the Big Ten going to keep paying Jim Delaney? Because maybe they could take some of that 5.1 or 2 mil
consulting fee
that he get. Listen, he still gets bonuses. Did you read? Like, it's incredible.
That's wild.
Like,
ain't nothing like a golden parachute.
Well, he's the Big Ten's highest paid employee,
which is nuts.
It's ridiculous.
How long has Delaney been gone? 5 years?
I was like, because until yesterday or whenever you told me about this, and then I went and read about it, I was not under the impression.
Was that not in those numbers? That's staggering.
Yeah, I was not under the impression that he was.
So they're on the hook for his retirement.
Yeah, apparently.
They got his retirement. They've got his bonus.
He must
his
have
consulting fee.
He must have the best agent in the business.
I wonder how much he had to do with the recent television deal.
I don't know.
Right? Because remember, they didn't want to give Warren any credit.
If that's what he's stayed on to consult for, like, okay, yeah, pay him.
$5 million
out of what they're getting. Like if he was the facilitator of that negotiation,
we're totally speculating.
Yeah, we are, but that's the only way that we.
I mean, Petiti does come from the television world,
but that's what I'm saying.
I probably would err with that. I probably would ride with that guy.
The only way it makes sense to me is if Delaney was crucial to those negotiations.
Paying him $5 million to get your 600.
Yeah, if he wasn't crucial to getting that number, then what are you doing?
Yeah, makes sense out loud.
Yeah, well, that's the only way it makes sense out loud. Otherwise, you're paying a guy $5 million for what? Like, what else could he possibly be doing that's worth $5 million? Because I'm pretty sure the answer is nothing.
Yeah. So the sports, you worry about school. This is just me, because for opportunities for student athletes, and I brought them up yesterday. You got to think schools like Stanford, even UCLA. Some of these schools that have had runs before an Olympic sports have to be in serious trouble. Now, if you let football be its own, the only saving grace could potentially be is if you let football be its own thing. And it does not adhere to the Title IX compliances, then you let the rest of your academic sports programs do with them what you will. Let them operate as is. And let the departments piece them off some money.
The issue there is going to be that's going to have to be a legal precedent set.
It is
not an NCAA issue.
But that's everything.
No, I know.
Yeah, I'm operating under that assumption.
But that's my only point to bringing that up is like that's a significant change that would.
Hasn't everything else we've done become legal precedent in terms of government and courts and not? What FSU is getting ready to pull off is certainly above the NCAA's pay grade.
Yes, everything recently is like starting in the last 10 years, probably.
While we're at it, revenue sharing is significantly above the NCAA's.
Yeah,
pay grade.
This was a court settled case.
That's not surprising.
No, I just mean
and assume that would happen.
I just mean to say, like, because we've talked a lot about college football sort of separating itself conference-wise, and so you can still do regional conferences for Olympic sports, or like separating itself in a collegiate athletic standpoint. It would have to be separated legally, which I
think they're well aware.
That's fine. It's a more arduous process, is my point, than the NCAA. Well, maybe, I don't know. The NCAA doesn't exactly move quickly, but there would have to be legislation passed to have a Title IX exemption for college football. And I don't know what that looks like in terms of, you know what I did find super interesting though, is as part of this settlement, so that the of the schools helping the NCAA pay this back money for this House versus NCAA case, one of the contingencies is the schools now have to lobby for the NCAA to get monopoly exemption status.
Yeah. They're at the mercy though, right? I mean, it's the ultimate middle finger.
Yeah.
Like, why would okay, enough's enough. You made our life miserable.
Yeah.
Long enough.
Now you got to help us out.
And you're going to be it's obligatory, right?
Yeah.
It's
you're legally obligated to help us out now.
Yeah.
I thought
it
that
is
was
now your fiduciary responsibility, fellas.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting that was part of the settlement agreement. Was that it was like, hey, I know you've kicked us around a little bit here, but now it's time to play nice and be friends.
God, it gets complicated in a hurry.
It really does. It really does. We're no longer talking about conference or governing bodies.
Can we get back to what Title IX was originally intended to be? Because we have definitely gotten away from that.
We can get into that next year on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. We're getting into the changes coming down from the House versus NCAA decision that are going to have some pretty wide-reaching implications across college athletics. And you brought up something right before the break that I think is a big factor here, and it was that Title IX has gotten very far away from its original intention. What did you mean by that?
Well, it just seems like so you wanted it was about equity in sports, right? The opportunity of, and for some reason it seems like we're confusing like fair and equal.
Okay.
Because for the opportunity to compete in the sport or provide an avenue, and its original intent, did it have anything to do with compensation?
So in its original intent, it didn't necessarily have anything to do with sports.
No, 100% agree with that. People don't
Title IX is a very wide-ranging.
Oh yeah,
like it's to prevent gender discrimination.
100%
in all
and it's
government funded.
That's the crux of the point.
Yes. So like the point, like if you aren't aware, because I know we toss out Title IX a lot, and I'm not going to assume people know because I didn't know until I researched it. Like,
I mean, we've gotten it's
Title IX exists because people kind of use it like a boogeyman too.
Oh yeah.
Where they're like, oh, if it weren't for Title IX. So Title IX in its core,
and we give it negative connotation because we don't understand it.
At its core, it is a very good thing. It is to prevent all discrimination, but specifically gender discrimination in any place that the government funds.
Yeah,
and
I didn't want to fast forward as though people understood that point when I asked you the compensation question. Because we just fast forward it. Yes. So what it was originally designed to do.
So that's kind of what I'm trying to create the context here, right? Because we start there. That's the goal, right? It's a good goal. It's a goal that needed to be established, especially at the time. And I would argue still needs to be legally established today. Now, that's a very long way from having a certain number of scholarships in sports.
Hey, and
ensuring
if we add this sport, then we have to add another sport.
Or if we want to add this sport over here, we may have to cut another sport to get things. And then that's an even further removement from what we're dealing with now, which is compensation for those athletes.
And
right?
when did Title IX come in? Was it late 90s?
No, it's like
70s.
72.
Okay.
I want to say 72.
Yeah. So it's just like, I'm pretty sure it's the 70s.
1972.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So we're a ton of degrees and interpretations of that law.
I almost feel like we should go back to Amazing Daniel. Remember a long time ago when he said, if you're going to have conversation or debate or a back and forth, you need to probably redefine what it is that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, I think you have to go back to redefining Title IX and its intent.
Yeah.
To start to have these conversations. Because Baker said something, and we kind of glossed over this, and this is from just the other day. Charlie Baker was the president. And by the way, is a very political background. He's the NCAA's president, and he's talking about the House versus the NCAA settlement option. He said the most important part about the settlement, and let's face it, there's still a lot of work to be done. Now read this. Listen to this, okay? He said the most important part about the settlement, and let's face it, there's still a lot of work to be done there. The most important part is to create some clarity and some sort of vision on a whole bunch of issues that have been rolling everybody for a while, Baker said. The other thing is it creates predictability and stability for schools. It also creates tremendous opportunities for student athletes, especially at schools that are most heavily resourced. It creates a framework that makes it possible to have a different kind of conversation. In many ways, I'm hopeful. Are you surprised that he said that part out loud about schools that are resourced as the president of the Collegiate Athletics Association?
I am a little surprised.
Isn't that like we just acted like...
Because for most of the NCAA's existence, it's pretended like that wasn't the case. Even from like a D3 to a D1, where it's like, oh, they're all student athletes and most of them are going to go pro in something other than sports and whatever, right? Like all their little...
How's that voice go again?
They're all student athletes. Like however they were trying to frame it to be like, really, it's about the education and whatever. And like for a lot of these guys, it's not, and that's fine. That's fine. I'm not passing judgment on that one way or another, but it was.
You got a good chuckle over Cardale Jones when he said, I'm not here to play school.
Yeah, because he said the quiet part out loud.
So is Baker saying the quiet part out loud as the president of the NCAA? So
yes, because at a certain point, because of this settlement, you can't pretend it's amateurism anymore. Like, this is the point where, and it's been a sham for a while.
So I read it more as he's getting ready to alienate some schools, or he's already alienating some schools. Like, we think we have an idea of what heavily resourced means, but what if you're not?
Yeah.
We going back to those equity firms again?
Some people will. Some people will. Like, and then when we talk about stripping away other programs, the way I was talking about, private equity firms won't hesitate to do that, because in order to
that would just be part of the pieces that they would sell off.
Yeah. Or
in theory,
at least strip down to make it a more cost-effective model.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they'll strip it down for parts and keep the stuff that they want to, or they keep the stuff they think they can make money off of. Because they'll be like, hey, why are we funding X, Y, and Z? We're not legally obligated to do that. Like, if we get rid of them over here, and then we get rid of them over here, all of a sudden our budget looks way better.
So I wonder if there's going to be another precedent down the road where I always go back to this Bernie Mac skit where he was watching, he had to take in his sister's kids, and he was getting on the bus, and he said his sister hopped out, and he was like, stop, you're denying my son the right to education. Like, so will parents say, like, if you cut rowing or crew or some other Olympic sport, will the legislated piece be, well, do you have the opportunity to do this someplace else because it doesn't have to be here, so therefore we're good? Or can you get into the providing the opportunity?
No, because you're not required to provide an opportunity for a sport, for a specific sport. Like, you can still go to that school if you want to go there. Like, go for it, have fun, right? You don't have,
or if you want to row, just go
to
someplace
school.
Go someplace else.
Like, you're not. It's the same thing as, okay, if you're.
What if you once did and then you don't?
I mean, it's the same thing if they cut an academic program.
Yeah.
Right. They do that all the time. That is not an uncommon practice. Be like, we don't really do that anymore, especially at smaller schools. Not so much at big schools, but you get down to D2s, D3s, NAIs. That kind of stuff happens all the time.
Yeah. Well, I think.
And that's the majority. Like, the majority of student athletes are at those levels, right? There's more schools at those levels combined than there is at the D1 level. And so, like, these.
Do you have to wipe the slate clean? And I save the Omaha and wrestling jokes because that's not going to be funny to me. But do you have to wipe the slate clean in order to stop doing the athletic endeavor? Because when is that ever going to be? Like, what if you have folks that are currently doing that, and then all of a sudden you say, yep, we're good? There has to be some sort of ramification in doing that.
There should be, but what would that ramification be?
Well, I think legally is where you would feel more obligated.
Why though?
Well, it got them there. Now you're just like, yep, we're done.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
Schools cut programs and then they have to transfer somewhere else.
Yeah,
and nobody gets done. There's and nobody gets in trouble for it. Like, you're not legally obligated to continue a person's athletic program or program of study or even the school itself.
Now, remember the spirit of the question, right?
Yeah.
So the spirit in the question is in the vein of upholding what Title IX has morphed into. That's the question out loud. That's the question that I'm thinking out loud.
So you're saying if you're cutting programs, does it violate the spirit of discriminating based on gender?
Yes.
Not if you're cutting programs on both sides.
Okay.
Right?
I mean, that's inevitable. That's
because honestly, there's to be
that's
totally frank.
But remember,
there's going to be certain. There's going to be
that's not what Title IX was supposed to do.
I understand, but that's going to be the application here.
And that's the part that bugs me.
Sure, absolutely.
Because I think you have to reset, which was the whole point of this exercise before we went to break, to brought it back. To redefine what the spirit of what it was supposed to intend. It's now being used.
It's been
almost just it's weaponized almost just the other way of its original of its original intent. I mean, it's grown legs.
Although you're going to have probably, because football carries such big numbers, even if those numbers are reduced to, say, if there's a roster limit, which they haven't decided yet, it sounds like there might be some roster number limit, but they have no idea what that number is going to be at, whether it's 85 or 115 or whatever, or maybe they scrap that part of it entirely. But let's say it's 100, right? And you can put all 100 of those guys on scholarship because they're talking about getting rid of scholarship limits and just instituting a roster limit instead. So let's say you got 100 football players and you have 100 of them on scholarship and all 100 of those guys are getting paid. It is going to affect, on the Title IX side of things, that's going to affect the other men's sports more because you have to balance it on the women's side.
I'm
right?
aware.
So you have to come up with, whether it's across 3 sports or 10 sports, 100 scholarships and 100 athletes getting paid on the women's side just to offset football. So if you're not making money on the men's side,
I see where you're going.
You're on the chopping block, right? Because the women's side, the women's sports now provide value in terms of balancing Title IX for football.
God,
men's basketball.
That is.
I know it's not what it's supposed to do.
It's
but am I wrong in practical application?
Because it's gotten away from us. I wouldn't say you're wrong.
Is pay going to be equal as well?
So, okay, so that was that's the 1A part when I brought up compensation, as it's kind of weaponized against Title IX, because I don't think they're the same thing. But athletic departments are going to have some real hard conversations, because let's go back, shall we? Let's remember the spirit of NIL, and I would say things like, hey, so you know what's cool for Olympic sports? If I'm a pole vaulter, or I do pommel horse, or I do rings, and I want to have my own camp or clinic, I'm probably the best one to be able to teach that.
Yeah.
I should be able to have 20, 25 people, however many, come and
pay $100 and whatever.
I should be able to get paid, right? That was like its intent.
Yeah, or if you're the most famous person in the entire state, like let's say.
So now you're going to hold those sports accountable because they're not making enough revenue for you to stay functional and say, you know what, we're providing the opportunity. That's crazy.
Yeah. But it's
that is it's just
But you know where that's going to exist now is that's only going to exist at like Division III schools.
No, I see. I don't. Okay, you heard the part that I read about with Baker, right? The schools that are heavily resourced. That will have. It won't be just of a Division III school.
No, so I should say
it won't be just a D3.
There will be a bunch of schools currently in other divisions, and whether they change divisions or not, that will have to adopt more of a Division III model.
Okay, there you go.
In terms of Division III type schools, not actual Division III schools. I said that poorly. You're going to have more schools and larger schools that you never thought would be in this conversation adopt a Division III type model for their athletic programs, because here's the problem: is most athletic departments aren't solvent. Like they're not fiscally.
Yeah,
right?
I agree with you.
So you're going to end up in a situation where if you're all of a sudden you're a for-profit business. I get the university is still not for profit, but the athletic department is now a for-profit business, full stop, right? Especially if you end up bringing private equity in. So if you've got a for-profit business that does not make money, that's no longer a viable business. So you're going to either have to go back to your nonprofit model or you don't get to stay in business.
Who's doing I understand the theory. Who's qualified to be overseeing the feasibility studies of whatever your reports are? Are you just going to look at the data and be like, yep, numbers don't add up. Yep, numbers don't add up. Yep.
Well, they're going to have to bring in financial officers to athletic departments.
Okay, that's all right.
And if you're dumb enough to bring in private equity, they're the people that are going to be making those decisions.
Yuck.
Yes. Yep. Correct. Yes. This is all icky. Like, yes, we want players to be able to be compensated, but we have gone down a path now.
And I got into this with TK over text, and I said something flippantly that I absolutely meant, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think he's and he can speak for himself, but like he's not a contrarian, but like he typically, like most legal people, will try to take the other side just for the sake of taking the
even
other
for
side.
a mental exercise.
And I had to keep reminding him, I know the what. Like I always say this in conversations. Assume I know the what. Like, how'd we get here? I say that all the time. And it's also how I talk. All right. So, well, big business, usually slow to think, reactionary, the NCAA, this. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I understand that. But I'm operating under the premise, which is actual factual. The Ed O'Bannon, this started a long time ago. Like he had 20 some years. 20 some years to work backwards. So when I asked the question, why did this come about after we started panicking over name, image, and likeness? It's not like I don't know what happened. The question is, like, did we not see this coming down the road where we could have been more proactive because the model being in place would have been a lot better than trying to form a model to keep this from happening as it was started. I mean, people keep saying the Wild Wild West, but if you're going to allow schools to pay players anyway, like this, did we just not think this was ever going to happen? Nobody thought to themselves, gosh, down the road. I mean, how many things do we do that with?
A lot.
That's my point.
To me, that's the why. Is human nature in a lot of these situations is to think that whatever is happening currently is going to always be what happens.
What was my big point in not wanting expansion?
That we hadn't figured out the rules yet.
Yep.
Nobody was playing under the same rules.
And I still maintain. I remember knockdown dragouts with people that thought I was being narrow-minded because I didn't want to expand until we got a little more conference uniformity in terms of everybody being on the same page.
Yeah.
So everybody was playing by their own rules. Now we've got this whole big thing where we come in with one fell swoop and we're like, there's this capitalistic model, but we want to run it. We want to run it in like this socialist capacity. If it's for profit, then it's just going to have to be all the way for profit. I mean,
that's what it is now.
But we did it backwards.
100%. But we did it backwards because of what you're talking about, right? When Ed O'Bannon comes down 20 years ago, or 10 years ago, I think is when it was decided. Started like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think it finally
a long time.
I think it was finally decided about a decade ago, right? And so I'm only going based on 10 years ago because that's when NCAA football stopped being made. So I assume that's when it was decided. But from that time frame, they absolutely had every opportunity to be like, hey, this decision got made. It's going to have some long-term ramifications for us. Let's start putting plans together to be prepared for those ramifications.
Hey, and right on cue, Ross Dellinger just 15 seconds ago for one. Get this title. Title IX looms as the single biggest unknown as part of the NCAA settlement. Shouldn't apply in an NIL-based revenue share model. Don't those generating the money need to get the most in distribution? Asked one university leader. Now, this is fresh off the press. It's almost like, and I'm certainly not saying I'm smart. It's usually to the contrary. But I can't believe this isn't a thing before Charlie Baker said what he said, which was roughly, he said this on the 13th, a week ago. Like, no, everybody was cool with that? Or we just kind of buried our head a little bit?
I think we probably,
because this is the conversation. We're just poding. I know, I'm sure you think you're smart, but this is just us talking. This isn't a thing. This wasn't a thing. So why could it's just frustrating.
No, I get it.
And I don't think it's being myopic either. I don't. No. Because what happened was, I think people behind closed doors were just worried about how they were going to get theirs in the immediate near future.
Yes.
And it's just like now we're going to be at the mercy of it being legislated.
We act like it's not how everyone operates, though. Not everyone, but how a lot of people operate just in their day-to-day, right? Like, people sacrifice long-term benefit because they can only see what's right in front of them.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
I get it.
And I watched this this movie about BlackBerry, right? BlackBerry.
Oh yeah, were they? Was that the one where they came in and like gutted the staff? Was that with Stanley Tucci?
No, that's about the financial crash in a way. But
that's his name, right, Shane?
That's Margin Call. Stanley Tucci. Yeah. Margin
Did I
Call.
say Taducci?
Yeah, I think so.
Is it just Tucci?
Yep.
That's kind of funny. Tucci. Never mind. That's childish. that's
like Tushy.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But I'm maybe one of the few. Did anybody else not go back to bed last night? I didn't. I mean, we're going almost a full zero sleep.
What could go wrong?
Working my life away.
Tell you in about 2 hours. I don't
know. No, but so there's this movie about BlackBerry, right? And they had a huge head start in the smartphone market on everybody. They dominated that market.
Mm-hmm.
And they thought that people would always want the thing that they have. And then the iPhone came along and they laughed at it. They go, who's going to want a phone without a keyboard? Who's going to want this? Who's going to want that? Guess what? Almost everybody. And even the people that don't have one that looks just like it.
Yeah.
Right? The Android and the iPhone look very similar stylistically. Like functionality, they're different, but it's a big phone with a huge screen, no keyboard. Like phones with keyboards died. Right? And they knew it was coming. They saw it coming, and they're like, nah, we're going to be fine. So if people who built this billion-dollar industry and had a 10-year, 20-year head start on everybody else can't figure it out when their job is to be good at business, there's a lot of people running the NCAA and running college athletic departments and running universities that are not business-minded people in the first place, right? They're either educators or they're politicians or they're whatever, right? So it's not surprising to me that they didn't get out ahead of this thing and be like, hey, what are going to be some of the long-term ramifications of this Ed O'Bannon deal? What does that look like for us? Maybe we should start putting some contingency plans in place. Maybe we should be proactive so that we aren't at the mercy of whatever rulings come down. Let's get ourselves in compliance before legally we are forced to, right? Because that's the smart thing to do. That's the proactive thing to do. But instead, the NCAA, and I truly believe this, risk their viability as existing at all.
Well, in retrospect, it looks like that.
Yes.
Because I don't know about real time. They might have just been confident enough to think it wouldn't run them down.
I said that they were risking their existence for 3 years. Like
I'm going back to when O'Bannon it was on the table.
And so I'm not going that for me. I didn't go that far back, but about 2-3 years ago is when I started going. The NCAA may not be viable for Division I sports anymore. They might have Division II, Division III, but I don't know how long they need to exist for Division I anymore, at least for high major college football.
And if you're thinking that way, we still need a new form of a governing body.
Absolutely.
It can't
be a free-for-all, but maybe it's a commissioner of a league, basically like the NFL. Like that's where I thought this was going. Apparently the NCAA didn't.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're halfway through the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. We're brought to you by the Team Jack Foundation. Go to teamjackfoundation.org to get involved. Lots of ways to get involved. You can be a partner. You can donate directly on the website. You can check out the events they have coming up. You can volunteer. All sorts of ways to get involved with Team Jack Foundation. And their mission is really simple. They're raising money to fund impactful pediatric brain cancer research and to work to create national awareness for the disease. They need better treatments and hopefully one day a cure. Make sure you get to teamjackfoundation.org to get involved. We were kind of deriding the NCAA for not having any sort of foresight whatsoever in predicting the world's most predictable.
It's not just their fault.
Who else's fault is it? The universities?
So I almost feel like everybody should have those folks that they go to, right? Like,
okay,
what's the word I'm looking for?
Like Tom Hagen's and The Godfather?
Yeah, like somebody you can confide in. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess the NCAA, gets into these habits where they operate in their own world. But going back to Miles Brand and whomever else, like nobody has anybody that they talk to.
Yeah, it seems like they are kind of an insulated little bubble.
And I don't know. I'm just like it seems like.
So I'm basing that off of the way they have operated. It seems like they're sort of a tone deaf bubble.
Shane, do you remember when we talked to the professor at the University of Nebraska that specialized in unions?
Yes.
Okay. Now he's an economist. He was basically an economist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? Understood unions, and this was during the whole Northwestern thing. Mm-hmm. I've briefly referred to this before, and he's just a little old smart professor at the university level that almost pegged this 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a minute, yeah.
And what he said was the things that are happening now were things that would have to happen over, basically a lot quicker for schools to unionize. But even he could see the road this was coming down if you were going to go to a unionization type structure and pay for play with the antitrust. Yeah. Like nobody has these people around.
I mean, you have them around. Do you talk to them? That's the question.
Yeah, but do you want to go down?
He was way ahead of the game. I wish we could remember his name.
But when you're in charge back then, 10 years ago, do you want to go down this road, or do you want to go down this road like full steam? Because you don't want to be the person to mess this up.
Yeah, but Shane, you could be the person that doesn't go get your mail, but that doesn't mean the bills still aren't coming.
Yeah,
no, but some people that operate that way, right? That's a thing people do. Is they not the bills thing specifically, but they'll ignore a problem, hoping that it goes away. That's a real thing that people do.
I get that.
When they're not ready to deal with something. And let's be honest here.
Shane, we need to find that guy.
This is an organization that probably thought, and it kind of reminds me of professional sports GMs a little bit.
Had to be 10 years ago, Shane.
Where the people making these decisions are often not doing it for the best interest long term. It's to make sure they have a job next year, right? A lot of decisions are made not because it's the best thing long term or the best thing for the organization. It's to try and justify me having a job tomorrow or next week or next year, right?
Human nature.
And so when you're doing that, a lot of the decisions can make sense in real time without you looking long term. Because if you're the guy, let's say 10 years ago, was it Miles was the NCAA president then? Brand is 10 years ago. Is that right?
I'm
still
pretty sure.
I don't think it was the guy before him at that point. But regardless, whoever Miles Brand, we'll just say he's the president 10 years ago in the NCAA. Do you have enough equity? Do you have enough cachet to be like, hey, we have to change everything we do from top to bottom because this thing is coming? Or are you going to sound like the boy who cried wolf?
Yeah.
I brought up the BlackBerry thing a minute ago. Wolf of Wall Street's another, not Wolf of Wall Street, Big Short.
He was 03 to 09, I think.
The Big Short's another example of this, right? You have Michael Berry or
Burberry's a cologne.
Yeah, no, it's Michael Burry, I think is his name.
Okay.
Is this investor
or perfume
that is one of the people that predicted the fall of the housing market like a year and a half early. And he made huge billions of dollar bets against the housing market, something that had never collapsed before. And people thought he was out of his mind. People took their money from his fund. Like, it was a disaster. But he was convicted and had the juice to see it through. And everybody that stuck it out got filthy rich because he was right. But you have to be a very unusual type of person to withstand that, especially long term. He had to withstand it for about a year and a half. Miles Brand would have had to withstand this for a very long, or whoever, a very long time. We're talking about several years minimum withstanding this and be like, this thing is coming. I swear this thing is coming. And then if he had proactively done it, then we probably never get to the court cases, and we never actually know if he was right or not, that it was coming either way.
But we see this all the time, though. We see this all the time with the stock market. There's always people saying, well, the stock market is going to crash here. It's going to crash then. I mean, there's people out there that do that all the time.
And talking about the scare tactic?
Yeah.
And often they're wrong. That's why that's why it's hard to be convicted in a situation like this, because there are so many people crying wolf.
I'm just trying to figure out like the next move, because the comments, like the statements, were so general with, you know, the myriad of issues, and hopefully this will allow us to have X amount of conversation. Like about what? Like which parts?
Is it possible he doesn't know?
With the political, with his background, I don't think so.
So he's just being purposefully general to not tie himself to anything.
That's kind of what.
That's fair.
At least that's what I hope.
He either doesn't know or he's not going to tell you. Those are the two options.
Yeah, because Dellinger's been all over this for.
Yeah, he's been really good reporting on it.
Yeah, and at least the vision, and it's like, okay, I don't know, when you're connected to college athletics, it's important, right? That's why I'm fairly passionate about it.
Oh, for sure. But it's the thing that I'm not afraid of, but it's not going to feel like college athletics very much longer.
I don't know if that so much bugs me as much as whatever we decide. It's more my mentality with, I can play almost any way you want to. You want to be down and dirty. You want to be this. You want whatever. I just want to know the rules. Yeah. Like just let me know what. Like I'm more interested in the viability and sustainability than if I can't romanticize about college athletics.
Yeah, I don't mean that. I mean, what I mean more of is it's not going to feel like college athletics in the sense that you're going to see, I believe you're going to see tons of programs, whether entire athletic departments or individual sports within those athletic departments, fall by the wayside because it is now a for-profit model. And that doesn't feel very college athletic-y to me. Like, it's not about so much as the romance or whatever, but if you're not...
Is that not how college universities are supposed to run?
You can... I don't know. I don't. I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be financially responsible, but there's a difference between being financially responsible as a nonprofit and being a profitable business in a capitalistic model. Like, those are different things. And I don't know that most schools are prepared to operate in that new world, because most schools aren't built that way. Most athletic departments aren't built that way.
Right.
We hated Sean Eichhorst for a lot of reasons, but he's the guy that operated most like this in Nebraska's recent history. And he's one of the reasons that they're in good financial shape now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But man, did we hate that guy.
Part of it, yeah.
He's part of the reason. He's a decent chunk of the reason Nebraska's in really good financial shape. Like, you're going to have a lot more Sean Eichhorst in college athletics now, because that's the type of mindset you have to have if you're in a, hey, we have to make this profitable.
I wonder what the future of collectives are going to be.
That's the next really interesting question. Because Ross Dellinger had some reporting on NIL too. We can get to that next here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Wrapping up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage, reminding you to get to unionomaha.com to buy tickets for their next home match on May 29th. That's Wednesday, just a few days from now. It is their One Means All community night presented by Bellevue University. Going to have education-focused exhibits on the concourse, and you'll get to see some of the mascots out there as well. Make sure you get to unionomaha.com for tickets. That's $5.29. That's this upcoming Wednesday. DB, lots going on.
Yeah.
Lots going on.
Yeah.
Nebraska baseball staying alive. They get back at it at 2 p.m. today.
Early one.
I like an afternoon baseball
game.
game.
I do too.
Those are I think they're my favorites. I like afternoon baseball.
Speaking of which, remember I asked about like revenue?
Mm-hmm.
And Tony, he hit something on X just to get back to Fridays versus Saturday. He says, as far as revenue for downtown Lincoln, I used to run dang, this dude is wide ranging. I used to run a restaurant on Q Street. And a Friday night game won't be as good as a Saturday afternoon or night, but will be as good, if not better, than an 11 a.m. Saturday, which Illinois would probably be.
Mm-hmm.
He said Saturday 2:30 is the best revenue kickoff time.
Yeah, actually get pre and post.
So you think the productivity of businesses is overblown, or no? We wouldn't know. You'd have to probably.
In Lincoln, I would say it's probably overblown. I think a Friday night game is going to be really profitable for Lincoln businesses. I do. I don't know. I think the bigger financial implications are what they are for the high schools with the gate that we were talking about earlier.
How was the I mean, this was a while ago. How was the Nebraska-Missouri game that was on the Thursday night?
Thursday night, I think, is different.
It's a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not typically going, well, A, you don't have the high school football as much conflict. And B, I think it's sort of I don't know if it's more established, but it's sort of an accepted, like, yeah, sometimes there's football games on Thursdays.
Yeah.
Friday's a one-off. It's sort of it's going to be more common, right? But it hasn't been, at least around here, a time that people have played football in college, at least. So it's, I think financially it's going to be fine for the businesses around the stadium. That's my guess. I don't have a good feel for that, but I think the real financial ramifications are going to be for the high schools, if that's truly a thing.
If we're talking about the NIL and the future of NIL, we're still in the model right now where we want to collect as much as we can to build up collectives for revenue and let that be part of the revenue stream. Is that in addition to what the universities are doing?
Yeah, so
that's kind of how at least currently.
Yeah, according to Dellinger, the kind of the current model that's being built through this settlement is because that's part of the reason the settlement has taken so long and it's taken a while for the conferences to get on board, is because it's not just the number, the 2.77 billion or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's all of these stipulations, right? So from what I understand, and this is from Ross Dellinger reporting for Yahoo Sports, is the cap will be enforced. So whatever it is, the 2022 million will be enforced. That will be the only main income for student athletes. NIL will still exist, but it'll have to be real NIL, not the nonsense we're doing now where it's like, here's $500,000 for one social media post. Like, it will have to be market value. Now I don't know how they're going to determine that, but it's going to have to be market value, less pay for play, right? So it's going to be more of, hey, this is Caleb Williams. He actually is super valuable. We can pay him X amount of money to do commercials, right? Like Dr. Pepper can pay him to be in their national commercials because that makes sense. I don't know who's another example. Like Tim Tebow would have been back in the day. He would have had a huge market value. You could have paid him millions.
Could it be relative to your local market?
100%. Yeah.
Okay, so that's
for sure.
It's going to be hard to manage.
It is.
Like
but they're going to try.
If Tim Johnson wants to do something for Duto, automotive, it may be extremely valuable. I mean, who's going to be able to?
I think they're going to go based off of what what another type of spokesperson would be paid. Like, so if you're paying Eric Crouch,
good luck managing that.
I get it, but it's like you're paying Eric Crouch instead of Dylan Raiola. What would Eric Crouch make versus what Dylan Raiola would make, right? If you're a car dealership and you're like, hey, let's have a Nebraska quarterback be our spokesperson, and you can either go current Nebraska quarterback or you go former Nebraska quarterback. If you wouldn't pay Eric Crouch that amount, you're not going to be allowed to pay Dylan Raiola that amount. I think that's how you bear it out market-wise, because that's a pretty as much apples to apples comparison as you can get. So if you wouldn't pay $1 million for Eric Crouch to make a couple social media posts and show up at an event, you're not going to be able to pay Dylan Raiola that. At least that's the idea. Now enforcing it, again, a nightmare.
It's not happening. It's not feasible.
Right? So I think the NIL collectives will have a place. I do think it'll be less of a heavy lift for them because there is a base salary already. You're not going to have to be providing that extra amount to get people to even. And it's probably going to be more hyper-focused on the marketable athletes.
Yeah.
That would be my guess. You want to get to Ramon?
Yeah.
We got Ramon calling in on the Hurrdat hotline, 888-638-4876. Ramon, what's going on, buddy?
What's going on, y'all? I was just popping in to tell you guys what I've been watching lately.
Razor Ramon, what's up? What,
man?
Ravi reminiscing about his old shows as it relates to economics got you going, or what?
Yeah, I mean, if I tried to get into all of it, I wouldn't have time to get what I was talking about. But a very good conversation about the NCAA and the BlackBerry movie and all that.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. So just want to tell you guys, I watched Warrior and Three Body Problem. I recommend both. If you like Bruce Lee,
Shane,
Warrior would be your show.
Is it? What's the Is it on Netflix? What is it?
I'll take it.
Yeah, they're both on Netflix. And
I obviously love the name.
Warrior is produced by Shannon Lee, Bruce Lee's daughter, and it's not about Bruce Lee, but it's based on things that he wrote. And it's actually like a Bruce Lee series, but with way better storylines. Because I got to be honest, original Bruce Lee's movies were kind of trash story-wise.
Okay, so I started to watch this. All right, this is the one where the guy came from off the boat, and they're kind of valuing what he is, and he gets into the fight with the white guy that's treating him bad right as he gets off the boat.
Right.
Okay, so I stopped watching that this is probably about 4:30 in the day. I stopped watching it, number one, because Zoe was obviously around, but it's fairly adult, right? If you know what I mean. Like, there were some some scenes where I was like, wait, is this a broth? Like, that's not what I said. It wasn't going early on the way that I thought the movie was going to go. Is it like that throughout?
Oh yeah, I mean, a disclaimer, not for kids, but you know that's what I.
No, and I know it's like not for kids. It was even because I got the sense because it starts out with him asking if they know where some lady is. I assume that's his long lost love.
Well, I can't give it away, but there's a big plot line there.
Okay.
But yeah, again, not for kids. But if you like, but it's very
sounded like dramatic. A movie. It looked like a movie that I needed to be watching at night, not in the daytime.
Right.
Okay.
And then Three Body Problem is about the brightest minds in the world, and all of a sudden they all start dying, and people are trying to find out why they're dying.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's very vague, but I don't want to give that away either. But I recommend both if you like thought-provoking or weird stuff like I do. So.
There we go.
Hey, did you pop into Graduation at all Sunday?
No, I went to some party. I took the kids to some graduation parties, but I had to work part of that time too.
Another reason why everybody's broke. Graduation parties.
Oh yeah, you got to bring the gifts.
Yeah, 100%. Well, after tomorrow, I'll be pretty happy, so I can be done with this chapter for at least 4 more years.
4 more years.
All right, buddy. I appreciate it, Ramon.
All right, you guys.
Thanks. I started that Warriors look. It does. It's heavy though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It had some immigrant Peaky Blinder vibes to it.
Yeah. So I had seen a preview for it, or maybe like a clip on TikTok.
I like that actor.
I hadn't seen it. I had heard a bunch of people had told me that I would like Three Body Problem because it's kind of a like thinking, a lot of deep thinking, thought provoking, as Ramon said.
I don't know. I have to look at it.
It's always interesting when somebody writes something and then they make whatever it is that they write, and they don't necessarily, when they originally make it, they don't necessarily go down the way it was written. And so when they come back to the original written piece, like they have with the Warrior, which I from what Ramon was saying, it's interesting that they actually go the way that it was probably written. So these things they're interesting to watch just when it comes to that.
Yeah. So when he first said Warrior, I thought he was talking about the Tom Hardy movie, the MMA movie.
Yeah. That's a little older though. Although I do love Tom Hardy.
That movie.
I like Hardy.
Yeah, me too. That's a really good movie though.
I always bring him up in that Prohibition movie or the alcohol movie, Shane.
Lawless.
Yep.
I love him in
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, I mean he got whooped.
I love him as Mad Max. So,
hey, the Fury Road thing.
Yeah, he's pretty good in that.
Dude, what are they doing with Chris
Hemsworth?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Making him a bad guy.
Is he cracking jokes? I didn't think it was a jokey movie. It seems like he has a little humor.
I mean, you've seen Thor, right? He's always got some jokes.
Yeah, wrong dude.
We have
Don't you always say everybody's got jokes, Damon?
Everybody's got jokes.
Everybody's got jokes. Mike Sautter coming up next from Hurrdat Sports.
We will be back We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Mike Sautter.
Yeah.
Mike Sautter.
Oh, man, you're going to put me on the spot.
Mike Sautter.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're here with Mike Sautter as well on the Pillar Exterior stage. What's going on, Mike?
Hi,
Mike.
Man, summer's here.
What's up, Jerome?
So summer's here. That means, yeah, daddy daycare. Daddy daycare is in effect.
Yeah. She's such a cutie pie. She does look. A lot of people say this out of spite when they want to offend the dude, but she does look exactly like your wife.
She does, very much so.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, she can't hear because I hate throwing the iPad in front of her and whatever, but hey, you got to be quiet for like an hour, so just sit down.
Yeah,
put that on. So
just not paying for childcare, are you?
No.
Yeah, listen, I hear you.
We're almost done finally with like that. Like
Maya's coming by Tuesday morning to help me out.
I was talking to my neighbor the other day, last night, after I mowed for.
These are all Robbie's problems. He's like, yeah, I just, I combat this. Don't have kids.
You guys can continue. I'm just gonna
you babysit. You want to babysit Tuesday?
God no.
Yeah,
it's Zoe.
I was a nanny for 2 years.
What?
Yep. in college.
He said that the same time I did.
In college, I was a nanny for 2 years.
That would be a great gig, though. You get the right family.
Dude.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
They were terrific. It was this lady that my mom used to work for. Like she was the lawyer. My mom was the paralegal. They had a great relationship. We'd known them forever. And then her schedule changed a little bit. And they're like, hey, can you come like watch the kids? And so it's 5 kids, 5 days a week.
Man, listen, I'm your dude.
5.
I could do that. That would actually kind of be in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, so I was less.
I could manage that just fine, and I love kids.
I was less anti-kid then than I am now. I had a little more patience then,
and they pay so well.
And they were super gracious with me, and the kids were really cool. Like they were super low maintenance. I probably wasn't like how some nannies go on like adventures and stuff, and I was just like everybody survives. That was my only goal. Like everybody, because there was 5 of them and just me. I was like, just everybody survives. That's the goal.
My sister-in-law used to nanny for Trev.
Really?
Yeah. It's a great job.
We never had any hospital incidents. Nobody ever ran away, never lost anybody. We had blood once. Somebody like scraped their knee one time.
Yeah.
In 2 years, I was like, that's an absolute W.
Yeah, that's a win.
I'm to the point now where like you fall off your bike, you scrape your knee, you'd be all right. It's good. Get back on that thing.
You know what I should do if I really want to establish some residual income? I should make training wheels on a bike that stay even. Why is that so hard? And how'd you know what I was going to say?
Because I've had that problem. Oh, that guy wants
why is that so hard to make training wheels that like are?
Well, you got a socket set, right? Did you need to borrow?
Oh, that's the one that has the octagon openings.
Yeah,
it looks like an octagon.
Yeah, you crank
it.
Yeah,
and you crank it, it makes a noise.
You go all Soldier Boy on it, crank it.
Get the socket set out, and it'll tighten it up real good.
Okay,
that's what. Yeah,
she went out riding with her aunt the other day, and I heard it did not go well.
Yeah, because it probably kept
did
moving.
beat the storm though.
It kept shifting on it. I would say get the socket set and make sure the little notches are lined up they have to be lined up.
Did you pull the wheels off yet?
Pull what? The training wheels? Yeah, she can. She's done. And then younger one we're not there yet, but she has training wheels.
All right.
Well, Layton's buzzing. Like she just goes.
See you later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, "Can I ride my bike to school?" No.
Does she lock it up and stuff?
I'm like, you don't even have a bike lock. She's like, it'll be fine. I go, no. And you ain't riding up the hill, down the hill, round. Nope, not without me.
So what's next besides camp?
Well, just everything.
Recruiting appears to be picking up.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have, locker room camp starts next week man, that thing kind of fell off, didn't it?
Locker room camp?
Yeah.
So Gas Can sent me some pictures yesterday or day before. He said he was going through old files. He sent me pictures of me working at MG camp,
yeah,
in 06.
Yeah.
Do you know how far the camp is? We actually did drills back then where you would bring your kid,
drill against the other kid.
Brian would come, Central would come, and you would relegate coaches to coach specific stations, and you cross-train all the kids.
Now it's like
it's
stuff
like,
at your own place, and then maybe one day we'll practice with you, but we're not going to actually practice with you. And then it's just
where do you think it got like that? Coaches got more protective of other people coaching their kids?
100%. And then all the transfer stuff happened more, so coaches are like, nah, we're going to do our own thing. Insulate.
Just mad.
Yeah, I think a little bit. And there was pre-COVID, there was some there's always, you get other teams' football and it's hot and it's all that. It's kind of like the NFL when they do the co-practice thing. You get a little talking and a little extra
chippy
after the whistle stuff happening. And that I think the coaches are just like, don't want to deal with that. I remember going to Burke. Burke went to North. This was like Hickman, Heinrich, Watts.
I was
those
at
guys.
And the fight broke out?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was there, and I was like, I was looking forward because this is going to be cool, right?
Yeah,
like
that
was like a cool thing
is
to go to practice with these two practicing each other for 2 hours.
That is Pittman and Ronell Wells and those guys. Not like
it did
Chris
not
Hickman and Henry.
Yeah, it didn't go very well.
No.
So I think that's kind of part of it.
We talked about that last night at our staff meeting, what we wanted to do.
Mhm.
And we're just going to do our own thing.
Yeah, that's what kind of everyone's kind of doing that, I guess. Now,
Plus, we got to be ready. Hey, look, you know who we open with June 5th for passing league?
Yeah.
I almost.
I know the person that makes the schedule too, and it's on purpose.
I almost.
I know it's on
if
purpose.
I didn't love Ravi, I would be there. If nothing else.
Oh, you're not gonna be there? I'm gonna be there.
Hey, if you gave us like the 10 o'clock slot.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna be there.
Just to control the chaos.
Right. There's gonna be a lot of just talk.
We open with no so.
Yeah, passing. It's 7-on-7, right? It's not like it's whatever.
No,
there will be people in the stands watching.
Did you
Parents.
not watch 7-on-7 again with them again?
Yeah,
and
I did.
Louis Central.
Yeah,
was it at Louis Central?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
No, when they beat us in overtime. Where was that? Where was last year?
Here, it was at Miller
South. Yeah.
This year it's gonna be at Papio South. June 20 and 21 coming up. I got to get that schedule. I got
right down the road here.
We got to get
they
that
got
going.
A cool setup, man.
Yes, it's great. It's perfect for it. So we got to get that rolling.
How many fields?
Just one.
Okay.
We're 20 teams this year, so that'll help. But
all right, now Sean may be messing with me. I'm going to ask you guys this question. You may
right.
not know Ravi, but just tell me if this sound plausible. And he's the type. He's sarcastic too. He said, "I thought they were supposed to be uneven to help kids start to learn to balance while they're on the bike." Is that true with training wheels, or is he messing with me?
I don't know. I was just thinking
that actually makes sense.
Yeah, I was just thinking, oh, is that why it kind of shifts? Yeah, that's why it shifts, but they shift like back and forth.
I don't know.
And that is not good.
All right,
so
back to recruiting, Sean. Squirrel.
Yeah,
I just hit a Doug moment. What's going on with recruiting besides it? Do you feel like it's
let me tell you, the
locally?
softball transfer portal is a thing right now.
Dude, what's
Holy
going on
crap.
in football again?
Yeah.
Didn't we miss the date?
What's that? Yeah, I don't know.
People are going to look at rosters this year and be like, WTH.
Yeah.
Not if you move. You can move whenever, right?
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
So if you move, transfer deadline doesn't matter.
No, I'm talking about the like college softball is what I was talking about. So just with Ruby Malin leaving, but anyway,
she's so good.
Yeah, she's good. She'll be fine. Anyway, no,
just
you
over
can't.
Washington.
Yeah, there was something with the coaching changes on the staff, and I think people weren't happy about it. They had like 6 players leave.
I know
yesterday.
Oh.
So, yeah. High school recruiting stuff. Yes, picking up. Yes, it'll gain more steam. Yes, I will dive a lot harder into it in the next month, like I kind of always do in June. But
so, who are we looking to? I know Christian's going to finalize his OV schedule.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I know.
Christian
5.
Jones is the biggest one, right? Feels like USC is going to be one.
Yeah, he'll go to USC.
Yeah,
he'll go to Oklahoma. He'll go to Nebraska.
Yeah, if Nebraska doesn't get him, it's kind of a big deal. I think
even with merit.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a big deal.
It'll be a big deal around here because he's from here.
Yeah,
I think from a national perspective, Dawson Merritt, in terms of ability, you're not having a drop off there either way. I don't think. From
you take both.
If you would, I mean,
I would.
Yeah, you would absolutely take both.
Well,
but
now you can take how many ever guys you want because the roster limit thing ain't gonna matter. 2 years? So
still can't manage it though.
I know
mean,
it's
a
really
good
hard
idea
to manage.
It's not even going to be practical.
I know.
Maybe
Maybe
not for a lot of schools.
Maybe it should be like 100. I don't know. It's up to the program. We can talk about it later. But Christian's a guy, like I look at a couple of linemen that are in the tweener phase right now. Garrett Malley's the one that's heating up real big time. Like he's got an OV to Oregon State coming next weekend.
Where do you put him in terms of projection with like a Ren Brown?
He's higher.
Okay. Just because looks a little more ready.
Yeah. Yep. Frame's a little bit better. Look, I'm saying like that you can
Ren
foresee
has a lot to work with.
the future, right?
Okay,
And you have to look at level competition. You just kind of do. So, but Ren is great. He's a guy that last year, kind of at the beginning of the year, it was like, there's a kid up in Stanton. It was like, all right, like let's go. So that, and then Calvin Jansen. I mean, Gretna has a couple of linemen, right?
Yeah.
That are pretty good. They're going to be pretty good. So,
I'd actually like to see them bounce back a little bit.
They'll be fine. They'll be fine. They get a couple quarterbacks that are fine. They'll be all right. I think they'll be fine.
So you guys, if you're a high schooler, Ravi,
mm-hmm.
are you going where you can be with other people, or are you going with somebody that can, like, how are you looking at picking a high school?
Well, it depends on what mindset I'm in, right? So right now, I'd be like, hey, I'm going to go to the place, thinking about it as a 36-year-old, be like, hey, I would want to go to the place where they give me the best opportunity to achieve the goals I have out in front of me, whether that's going to Division I, whatever that is, right? Whether it's just getting playing time, whatever my goals are, I would identify that place and go there.
If you're a coach.
As a 15-year-old, I'd probably want to go play with my friends.
That's okay.
As a parent, I would be looking at like the development for the future and winning and culture.
Because you can reach a point of diminishing returns, right? Like you can have a guy. I mean, you can have too many guys where you're not going to get what you want.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's about winning, okay.
Sure.
Right? Because that's got to be a thing, because coaches have to think about that too.
Mm-hmm.
Too many guys.
Well, you have to have the right kind of kids. I mean,
that's true too.
Yeah, you just do that are willing to be unselfish, because something's gonna give.
Yeah, if nobody's willing to sacrifice one of those situations, it gets ugly in a hurry.
So, as a 15-year-old, you're a friends guy?
I think I would have been. That's full disclosure. That's why I didn't transfer anywhere to go play baseball, because like Miller North was like basically everybody on that team was a Division I guy. I'm not a Division I guy. I could have played baseball a lot of other places in high school. Didn't want to leave my friends.
Man, I left mine. I was the only one that went to Northwest. I didn't go to North, Central, or Burke.
Yeah,
I wanted to play baseball. Like, that's why I went.
I did too. But
it wasn't anything more fancy than that.
I did too, but I didn't want it more than I wanted to be with my friends.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that makes sense.
I didn't.
Because you know who has a really good freshman class coming in is Prep.
Prep, yeah. Well, they had a good freshman class last year in other sports, like wrestling and like basketball was good.
I mean,
they had some good. They had a really good freshman class in football last year.
At first glance, like they've got 5 of our guys that I coached for the last 3 years.
Yeah,
and they're good.
Yeah.
Now, like upside will be interesting, but like ready-made, and it's a friend thing.
Yeah, people like playing with people they know. People like being around there's a comfort to it, right? Like especially if you're going in a strange situation,
yeah,
and you don't know anything else, and especially when you're young and maybe you don't have the self-confidence to navigate things like that. What's the thing? I mean, I remember it. I still remember how it felt when I was in high school, and you know your schedule would change from either semester to year, and you didn't have any classes with people that you knew, or you didn't have a lunch period with people you knew, and so you're sitting by yourself, and you're like, okay, so that's every day. Like, yeah, I didn't want anything to do with that.
Speaking of recruiting, Henry Ryberg is going to be another line. There's a lot of linemen.
Rayberg,
yeah,
that's his guy.
I love that.
But there's a lot of linemen.
That is.
I've been talking about him for a while.
Oh, yeah. He's
like
tough.
This year, like, yeah, hey, there's like the top heavy Christian Jonesy type of guys, but there's a lot of.
I love those.
There's a lot of linemen type of guys like that.
Me too. I like him. I like him a lot.
Yeah,
I told you I love Owen James.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
I like Lab at Millard South.
Yeah.
I like who's the Cockstrong guy at Papio?
Malley.
Yeah. I mean, guy's legit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It may take like one more year, but I hear this a lot.
Calvin Jansen, Ben Marion is the other guy.
I hear this a lot from young people. right? And I think we've been spoiled with all the attention of Division I recruits. It's 8th, 9th, and even sometimes 10th grade. It's people are panicking, wanting to be recruited in the spotlight, and it's hard. It's
football's so much different.
Sometimes you just gotta stick it out.
Yeah, football's so much different than like getting an offer as a football player as a freshman. Oof. Like unless you're just Hercules.
Yeah, it's pretty unusual.
Like it's real hard, and parents want it, and people were pushing all for it, and you have handler people that
it's usually summer after sophomore year.
Yeah, like after your sophomore year, that's when you're probably starting to get a little run.
Yeah,
and then going into this time of year, this spring
between junior
and senior years, when football, that's when you're starting.
But it's kind of a tough, it's tough with football because that's kind of a finite window, right? Where it's like by summer after sophomore year, you're sort of starting to be physically developed enough to have an idea of what you're going to be. But then if you don't have offers by the time you're going into your senior year, you feel like it's not happening.
Right.
Like that's a tough spot to be in. That's not.
I don't know. I'm sure
you feel like it's
I'm sure you're probably right? Because I'm just looking at this last class. Like Teddy was fairly late getting offered, and he's going to Notre Dame. Davon Hall was offered as a freshman. And he almost had no offers.
Right.
By the time it was done. So,
but that's the one.
It can be different.
It can, yeah.
Davon was the one I thought of as a freshman. That was really early, right, for him, and that. I do think there was time during his high school career it hurt him bad.
I'm with you.
Like where it was
you do have
the pressure
and you do have to be able to manage it.
Yeah, like that. It kind of got to him a little bit.
Who had the explosive junior year? Like Mab Noonan.
Mab Noonan had a great.
He had the big junior year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I've seen it go both ways. You want to take this call real quick?
Yeah, let's get to especially since he hasn't been calling in much lately. Michigan Lance. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, good morning, fellas. How you doing?
What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up, man? I hear you guys talking about some deciding schools and things. You're talking about athletics, right? Like going with friends and not friends and things of that nature. Well, I don't know, but DB, you were a little bit more. You let Caleb decide where he wanted to go, right? But
you talking about high school?
Reign? Yeah.
For the most part, like it had to work. We had to make it. We had to be capable to get him there. But yeah. He got the pick.
You talking about logistics? You talking about? Oh, okay.
Transportation.
Yeah, and I hear Ravi saying you stayed at Miller North, or was it Miller North you stayed at because of your friends?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I basically left all mine.
Right. Yeah, I heard you. Yeah, I heard you on that one. Yeah. My first year, I had to go to Northwest because where I lived, I wanted to go to North. It's funny because I wanted to go to North because of my friends out of 8th grade. And so I was going to have to transfer in there. But by the time my freshman year came along, and I always wanted to play college sports, and I was looking at kids out of Omaha who were being recruited, and the top two guys were Damian Morrow and Amon Green. And I was like, I'm looking at other high schools. I'm looking at North. I'm like, hold on a second. I think I'm heading over to Central. Like, I'm trying to go play college football.
Yeah, people forget Amon started at North.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so his senior year was my freshman year. And so I'm looking at him and Damian Morrow in Sports Illustrated. I was like, and I didn't tell anybody. I was like, no, I'm out of here. I'm going to Central. So I made that decision on my own. And it's funny, people ask me, how'd you make that? Like, I think back on it now, like, I didn't ask my mom. Like, I told my mom, like, hey, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. She was like, all right. She didn't really care. And so, but yeah, I just made that decision because, like, man, for my future,
dad wasn't as easy going. It had to come around. I was the 5th out of 5. Mm-hmm. Everybody else went to Central. He worked there. That took a little more convincing.
Yeah, it would have been really interesting for you how it would have turned out different. How differently it would have turned out for you going to Central.
All right, all right. So if Langston was going to move back to Omaha, what are you looking for?
Well, it was no different when I was looking for when I was in Omaha. It wasn't going to be his decision. Any of my kids, none of my kids have made their decision on schools. It's been both of us, and it's based on what they want to do. and then what we feel is the best for them as well. And so
we were the same.
For him, it was like it was either Bellevue West or West Side before we left. That was what, 22? We left in 22, and so this fall of 23 would have been his freshman year. So at the time, it would have been those two. Well, and Prep in there as well because he went to Jesuit Academy. And so leaning more as it has gone by it right now, probably would have been between Prep and West Side. Just for the and I got to throw in there, and now since my guy DeJuan Johnson's at South, that definitely would have been in there too because I know how he builds and develops, and that would have been a big part as well too. So the combination of both and how things academically, academically, like those are good academic schools.
I always said, and people got mad at me, you're going to be a good student where you're going to be a good student.
Right. Exactly. That really didn't matter that much. That didn't matter to me.
Let me ask you something. How you just finished up spring ball? Mm-hmm. How far ahead is Langston given his grade versus where you think he would be here?
Oh, he's light years ahead, most definitely. And that was one of my concerns about staying in Omaha was his development because I knew
we just don't play enough.
It's not playing enough. I mean, ending in November and not putting on pads again until August and not seeing another opponent until September. Like we had spring ball, we had a spring game against another team. In the fall, we'll have a real preseason game. So we'll have fall camp, and then we'll play a preseason game against another team. We're going to travel like 3 hours away to go play them before the real regular season starts. I'm not talking about non-division opponents. I'm talking about a real preseason game that doesn't count towards schedule.
Yes. Michigan Lance, we appreciate it.
Hey, congrats on the new job.
As always.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it.
Go kill it, man. That's Michigan Lance. We'll be back with more Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, also on KFOR in Lincoln for this third hour. That's D-Beat. I'm Ravi, Lulla, Mike Sautter here with us as well. And we are brought to you by our friends over at Warhorse Sportsbook, whether it's at the casino in Lincoln or at Horseman's Park here in Omaha. Make sure you get out and get to Warhorse because it's the best place in Nebraska to place your sports bets. Got NHL, NBA playoffs, whatever you can think of, they've got you covered. Go to warhorsecasino.com/sportsbook for a full list of house rules and details. That's Warhorse Sportsbook. No bets, no glory.
Hey, Mike, I have a question.
Okay.
Why do you feel like, did you know that Shrine Bowl was next week?
Not until somebody mentioned it in the comments.
Where?
I did not know that.
Let me see this.
Heath asked if Mike was going to the Shrine Bowl next week.
Oh, thank
I
you
will
for
not.
highlighting.
I will not be there.
Okay, so I'm glad you were honest.
Yeah.
What happened?
I didn't know it was even a thing. I mean, I didn't know. I thought it was later.
Listen, what sounds unbelievably crazy for a guy that is immersed in high school sports.
Yeah.
So that's my point. Not as an indictment, because I know a couple guys that had to come get equipment for it.
Right.
So it's obviously on my frontal lobe. But nobody's talking. Remember when the Shrine Bowl was like a thing? Hey, are you going to the Shrine Bowl? Did you?
Yeah. Hey, we're going to the, like, it was a big deal.
Like
Yeah.
everybody played. Now it's hard to get guys to want to play.
It's obviously early enrolling stuff.
Hey, Shane, can you help me with that, please?
Early enrolling stuff has changed. So you don't get the high level guys going, right? Or the people that are already enrolled. And then you also don't get another, the next tier. You're getting like tiers. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess I kind of forget about it.
I just keep. This is weird, but the whole NCAA and the paying and all of this got me thinking about the spirit of what we're supposed to be doing, which led me to think about the Shrine Bowl and high school and why we pick high schools. Because remember,
I also wonder if Shrine Bowl could move to like it'd be cold as heck, but like that first week of like December or something,
like a post.
Yeah, like actually
like a bowl game almost.
So you're not taking as much time off,
right? Because at what point are kids like, yeah, I'm good?
I just don't know where you're going to play it.
That's true, but I don't know. And they change kind of directors.
It used to be the thing. Like,
Yeah.
if you didn't get invited to Shrine Bowl,
you were mad.
It
It
was like,
I used to love the Shrine Bowl because
what are you doing?
It was this random football game that was on PBS and would be available over the middle of the summer where there was no else football on, there were no other football on. And it's the same reason I used to watch NFL Europe. It was just this random football in the middle,
and it was like the who's who.
Yeah, everybody
got really
was
good
there.
players there, and I used to always pay attention. I don't know if it was, can't remember if it was like Larry Putney back then when I was watching or whoever, but like you'd be like, oh, this guy's going to Nebraska, and this guy's going to wherever. Like it was really good players, and then I'd like to watch all the Miller North guys, and like it was a big deal.
I mean, you don't get guys.
The Shrine Bowl snuck up on Mike Sautter.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I mean, it's not super relevant anymore.
No.
We gotta figure that out.
Well, I think like the director changed and stuff. So, yeah.
I mean, what's
has something to do with it? I don't know.
What is the feasibility?
Or they're kind of maybe
backing
pushed
off it
out of around like the metro area stuff. It feels like it's kind of more of
because I actually thought the Lincoln the Kearney thing was a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, practice in Lincoln, whatever.
Like the stadium setup because now they play it at Ron and Carroll Cope Stadium.
Right. No, yeah, playing it there is good. It's great.
Because I think it's a fantastic.
I went out there for it a few years ago, and it's great to have it there. It's perfect size. It's awesome. Like, and that was when they practice at.
And I remember, obviously, when Nebraska Public Media had the broadcast, I did those broadcasts every year, so I always look forward to it. Just because I got a chance to see guys play. But now I just wonder.
Yeah, I don't know that it. Sorry, I thought you were continuing. I don't know that. I don't know what place it has moving forward unless you make some pretty significant adjustments to either when it's played or make it more inviting to some of the higher end guys to want to play.
I mean, there's still good players. I mean,
there's plenty.
Yeah, there's good players on there. I mean, like Drake Zimmerman's playing on there. Trevor Spady's playing.
My guy.
Yeah, Henry Prohaska is on that team. Blake Hawkins, Isaiah Weber is going to do pretty well. Cooper Johnson.
I always, so much like a lot of football, a lot of that game is based on quarterback play.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've done a couple of those broadcasts where it's like
how it looks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was it Noah Walters last year?
I mean, Quentin Archer from Bennington's playing in it.
Walters would have been a couple of years ago.
And like there was a shortage of quarterbacks available.
Yeah.
And so it was just like
standard.
It changes
Oh, it pretty dramatically changes the dynamic of what you're watching.
Yeah.
They're just going to be running the ball.
I remember
Isaac Doty from Sydney, remember him?
Oh,
he's on the North team. I mean, there's Peyton Prestito's playing in it.
I like him.
Love that guy.
Quietly.
Michael Burt's in it.
He tore up Miller North this year.
Well, Michael Burt is on a roster. I don't know if
there was something about him for like the last 2 years. I was a
Prestito?
Yeah. Our coaches don't like when I refer to other players by name, so I just would call him P2 or number. Like they're not big. Like Coach Money is super old school. Like, yeah, I don't want to hear about that.
Here's also
numbers as it relates to a scouting report.
back to the Shrine Bowl. There's of the coaches, head or assistant coaches on this year's teams, there is one from the Metro.
Huffman?
No.
Larry.
Tom Van Oot from Gross.
That's it?
Yeah. Southeast, Southwest, Gross, St. Cecilia, BDS, Southeast, Southeast. And then Norfolk, North Star, Sydney, Hardington, CC, Neely, Oakdale, Grand Island, Norfolk. That's where the coaches are from. So that's probably why we don't hear about it. Haven't heard about it as much. Me, maybe.
Huh. Yeah, it's less metro-centric.
Yeah.
Event.
And I live in Omaha. I try and get out as much as I can. So, but that's probably a little maybe part of it. And they're just, frankly, there isn't ton of metro kids on these.
What did you hear about? Did you hear much or give much thought to them, the Illinois game moving to Friday night?
Yeah,
I know it drives ADs crazy.
Yeah, they're not. Well, you guys that's a Bellevue West game. It's a big night.
Oh, I understand.
It's a big
and it's a home game.
It's a big ticket night.
Yeah.
So I'm sure.
And if people think revenue isn't important, why do you think Bellevue West doesn't do live broadcasts?
Stream games for free?
They stream, yeah.
And they don't do Thursday. Bellevue for
they
real.
They were kind of the first ones to kind of capitalize on their market value.
And there's also a reason why they don't do like the TV games.
I know.
That's why.
Because the
gate matters
there.
Yeah, gate matters.
And I know always knew Morrow was smart, but like he held firm. And I know sometimes the TVs are like, oh, come on, like help us out. And he's like, look, man, we got an athletic budget.
Yeah, like we're trying to. Yeah.
I'm telling you though, and I know his deal is the first. Petito was the first one to turn me on to that.
Yeah.
How important
the gate?
Yep.
Yeah. The gate is
when
important.
I finally started to figure out public athletics, because I remember being at Northwest, it's like we got to find a way to generate revenue.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the easiest way.
And I would go over there and I would talk to him and pick his brain. And I'm like, wait, $60K for a home game? You're making that money.
Yeah.
That would have ran our program for 6 years.
Like the
at the time.
Yeah. What do you
I'm dead dog serious.
Yeah. How much you guys think like the Millard North,
So Kirkman,
South,
so our
West,
athletic, our
like
athletic
those
director
games
will tell you that prep gate
huge
from last year that was so star studded.
Yeah.
They may have broke a record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like people don't believe it, but there's we're talking about like 5,000-6,000 people. Like
sometimes more. It's a little bigger one.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're at Buell, like you can
push 10.
The Millard games at Buell, like if
I was
teams
telling
are good,
them about when Millard North used to open with another Millard school.
Yeah,
we used to open with Millard West a lot. And it would push 10,000 people. Like it was.
And whoever
like
the home team is that night.
Yeah.
Hey, so how did they do it? Did they split or
It's
is
whoever the home team?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh,
So
that
1
would
year
be, that'd be tough to swallow.
It ain't Lincoln, baby. We ain't revenue sharing,
they
bro.
do share.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it's whoever gets home.
Yeah.
But usually they try
the revenue sharing thing in Lincoln's wild.
When they usually try and split it though, so like
at least they can keep all their schools updated at the same time though.
Yeah. Hey man, you got one more basketball than this school. You're getting that one. You're getting that one.
That basketball in
yeah,
half.
you're getting it. Crazy. No booster clubs.
Yeah.
It's wild.
The
you didn't know that? This is new?
No.
Oh man.
Usually they try and split the home game, so you get one home Miller game.
We couldn't function without our
one
booster
road
club.
Miller game. Oh yeah, how'd you recruit all those players? Coming up next, Matt Vrzal.
Exactly.
Matt Vrzal coming up to join the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Now let's find out what Matt Vrzal is better at. Telling stories or making pizza.
Matt.
Matt's an exceptional young man.
Matt Vrzal.
Happy birthday, Matt.
You know, Matt, he's a tremendous athlete.
Matt Vrzal.
Come on, Matt, I'm with you.
You know, like Matt Vrzal, you're one of the sexiest people in the world, but you're not one of the most beautiful. How does that happen?
Here is Matt Vrzal.
All right, Matt, thank you very much.
Wrapping up the show here on a Friday and the week on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. Mike Sautter here with us as well on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube from the Pillar Exterior Stage. And joining us now is Matt Vrzal, former Husker, owner of Paisan's Pizzeria. Verz, what's going on, bud?
Nothing, boys. What you doing?
Well, better question is, how are you doing?
In the words of your main supporter at Westside, super good, getting better.
Oh wow, what does that mean?
Is that a DJ thing?
Oh yeah, say that to him. See what he says.
I gotta
say super good, getting better, fantastic, and improving.
I have to get a flash drive from him. He may leave it for me in the mailbox. He's pretty busy.
Oh, film.
He's got a couple things going on.
How
are you ladies doing today?
Did you say ladies?
Wow.
I'm sorry. I can't hear very well today.
Hey,
yeah, we know.
Did you? What time did you get in this morning?
Oh, baby, school's over.
Yeah,
school's over. We're sleeping in.
So did you sleep? Did you sleep through last night?
No,
I don't even know.
I was up till about 2:33.
Oh,
got back up at 7.
So right when it started, huh?
I just watch them.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, some like where I grew up at, and I know it's not the mecca of weather, but sometimes you just get like you'll just watch weather. You're like, oh, we had a lady in when the rain hit and the tornadoes like last week, and the sirens going off, and she's like, hey, you need to turn local TV on. I was like, no, I don't, unless you have a please in there. And I was like, why? And she goes, the sirens are going off. I was like, oh, baby girl. I was like, you're safe. I'm like, don't worry about it. I was like, I got you.
Well, she let
And
you
she's
call
like,
her. She
"What?"
let you call her baby girl.
She did. She did. And her husband kind of looked at me. He goes, "Oh, you're going there." I was like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "We'll call him. Everybody's calm. Everything's good."
Must be your stunning
And
charm.
He goes, "Oh, dog." He goes, "Good luck." And so I was like, "It's okay." I said, "I'm from Grand Island." I was like, "We ain't got to worry about much until it feels like all of the moisture is getting sucked out of the earth." I'm like, "Then we're going in the bathrooms." She kind of raised her eyebrow and she goes, "Okay." And we sat there and we just watched it. Nothing happened, but she was like, "I guess I trust you."
You do have some ridiculously clean bathrooms, but they're not very big, so I don't know about that whole bathroom thing.
That's where you go when the tornado comes.
Yeah, I am glad I finally figured out the fact those lights come on automatically. That's fun.
In the bathroom?
Yeah. I spent a little time looking for light switches once. That was a long
Just lost in there on your phone.
Long time ago. It's a long.
Hey man, no loitering in the bathroom. You get in, you get your business handled, you get out.
And don't bring your Stanley Cup in either.
Hey, he got on. Who did he get on?
Some lady last time I was there. He was like, "Ma'am, sign on the door. Can you take your cup to the car?" And she looked at him like,
Did not
"What?"
said that. I said, "Ma'am, if you read the sign," and it literally is right in front of her. I had to change it to a stop sign. I put a stop sign on it.
Hey, can I? So we're talking about business models and stuff on the heels of the NCAA, and we'll get to that in a sec. How do you weigh the risk reward of just being principled?
I think if you don't have principles or you don't have those kind of things, you don't really have much. Like you don't have a business. You have a place where people are going to come walk all over you and do what they want to do, and it's your place of business. And that's how we want to operate. And you want to bring in your 47 Stanley Cups, and you can take them back out to the car and head somewhere else. Because I don't. Why would I want to put myself through the whole thing of saying, "Hey, can I have your Stanley Cup?" Great, thank you. And then I go dump it out because I don't know what's in there, and I don't know you, and you're not going to let me taste it. And the main reason for this is we had a mom came in with a young baby, like a baby in a carrier. And so we're working. It's a Friday or Saturday, I can't remember. And she sets the baby on the table. That's fine. I got no problem. I don't like the high chair upside down thing. It freaks me out. So she sets the baby on the table. Perfectly cool. She's got a milk bottle and a clear bottle.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going, the night's going, and she's kind of starting to get loud. And I'm like, "Hey, who is serving the mom?" And everybody's like, "Not me. Nobody. Not me."
How long ago was this?
2 years probably now.
Okay.
Well, old girl had a milk bottle and a vodka bottle. So she was buying Sprites, or she bought a Sprite, and she was taking the clear baby bottle and pouring pouring vodka into the Sprite can bottle. And I was like, "Oh crap." I'm like, "What do I do now?"
Yeah.
I was like, "I got a drunk mom with a baby, no one else with her. But what do I do now?"
So Maddie,
and I'm like, so now
I'm sorry.
We never take that chance because, listen, there's some moms at some high schools in Omaha that think they're slick. I've kicked out parents from the school across the street for bringing in Fireball.
So I saw that's a thing now that not clubs, restaurant owners and bar folks do. They watch people that order just the drink and then bring in their own airplanes and stuff, or whatever you call those little bottles. That's a legit thing that people do quite a bit, right?
That's crazy.
Because they ask those people to leave.
It's not horrible, but it's all in the eyes. The person that comes in and their eyes may be a little bloodshot, but then all of a sudden they just want to come to your spot and drink Sprite, and then they get a little bit louder, and then now you're on. I mean, you master it in Lincoln. You one of the bars in Lincoln, you're on point. I know kids think they're slick. You know every cheater, every way they can do it, and then they don't like it when you call them out. But I'll just set the evidence on the table and be like, "Okay, Here's this. You guys have a great evening. Never come back. And I haven't seen that family since.
I always just wonder, because I think maybe it's not once a week. It seems like it's once a week, but you give somebody the ultimatum to not come back. I just wonder how many times that happens.
No, that is not true. That is a lie.
It's not once a week.
Here's the one that gets me. Is that we had a dude come in and he's got his thing, and I said, we're gonna have to take that back out to the car, and da da da. And he goes, yeah, I have structured water in here. I was like, yeah, great. I was like, that's awesome for you. I'm so excited. I said, I have a structured water filter at my mother's house. I'm like, they're great. I'm like, but we don't take them to restaurants. We assume that risk as we go. And he's being cool guy. He's like, do you even know structured water really? I'm like, yeah, I do. Actually, here's mine.
Is this how he's talking?
Yes, it is. And so he keeps going. And I said, now I'll be polite to an extent, and then now I'm going to get a little passive aggressive. And I said, hey, bud, I said, real quick, just so you know, in here, we do not have a structured water filter, because for here, it's going to be about $8,000. I said, I like you, but I don't like you that much. I said, just so you know, anything you are going to consume in here is made with good old Omaha tap water. I said, not a structure in there, buddy. So maybe we should take the water back out to the car. He picked the water up, went back out to the car.
Did he come back in?
Yeah.
Okay. You were cool then.
I get it. Like, I understand, but and some people just are used to it. Like, the ladies will laugh. Like, it's just like part of me now. It's like my purse. I'm sorry. I'll run it back out. No big deal. But we don't know what's in there, and we don't want to go through the drama of dumping it out and pouring you water.
Yeah, because you're legally liable in that situation, right? If they bring something in.
100%.
I didn't even.
If they leave and they are tuned and they say we were at Paisans, then
doesn't matter if you serve them or not.
The good men, no, and they'll say we served them.
Oh, okay,
that's
gotcha.
The problem.
Gotcha. Okay.
The drunk will lie to get out of their situation, and the popo
100%.
are just like, hey, what's this here? I'm like, yeah, here's the nips that they brought in to drink out of. I saved them for you.
Hey, what time are you? So are you there now?
Yeah, I'm finishing up my last day, and then we'll be over there.
Okay.
Hey, thank you for your help with that too.
Yeah, we didn't get to that. We may we'll get to that Monday. We may have him on. I appreciate you boxing me in with the group text though. That was cute.
Well, so I know you very well.
I would have got to Adam though. I like it.
For those listening, Damon and I had something come up where we're going to be helpful to some people, and
yes,
I know Damon well enough. If I send him a message from me, that's going to get answered.
Yeah, he won't think it's, yeah.
He's going to pick that one up September and be like, "Oh yeah, got back to you on this." So the third party involved in this. I just put Damon, the third party, in a group text, and I was like, "Yeah, now you got to respond now, big boy."
Yeah, that was cute, man. I appreciate it.
I texted him on.
I called him on my way to the staff meeting though. We got it. I got the whole thing over to Nebraska.
Yeah, baby.
I texted Damon on Wednesday.
Yep. All right, buddy. See you shortly.
When did he get back to you, Mikey?
Still hasn't, and I'm sitting right here.
Yeah.
I don't remember what he asked me.
There you go, Mikey. Next time, you just put you and somebody else in the text, and if he doesn't really like,
I'm just trying to get through these next 4 days. After the holidays, man, I'm straight. I'll be back to normal.
He'll respond because he doesn't want to upset that person he doesn't know.
That's Matt Vrzal, former Husker owner of Paisans Pizzeria. Verz, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Matt.
See you, boys.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.